Oh, brother bear.
This setup is held together by glue and sticks. This setup is held together by glue and sticks.
Cheers, bro, Miko. How the fuck are you, my friend?
Pretty not bad. What have you been up to?
That is a question as old as time.
Yeah.
Before time began, there was the cube. Exactly. Okay, sorry. Welcome.
I mean, if you know, you know.
Welcome back, everyone, to episode 3. I can't believe we made it to 3 episodes already.
I know. I think we're actually a little behind on this episode, too.
A little bit, but that's okay. You guys are going to have to forgive us a little bit. We're very busy individuals.
Quite frankly, I feel like this setup is better than the last 2 setups we had.
With that said, like you said, held up by glue sticks, scotch tape.
Yeah.
And hopes and dreams. Honestly, though, the visual of this, I'm kind of digging this. We've been wanting to do this setup for a little while, actually.
Yeah. We're out here all
I'll
the
wait
time.
a little bit before I crack into that bad boy. Or we can pass it back and forth. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, you want to do that? Featuring douchebag in a car.
Didn't think about that, though. What a fucking bitch. Yeah, welcome back to Dual Talk episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. And thank God, speaking of Star Wars, rest in peace to this fucking bullshit acolyte. We don't even have to get into the extent of it.
We're gonna start. We're kick it off that way.
Yeah, kicking it off.
Let me hit
yeah,
this
light
first.
it up, light it up. I'll while you're doing that. Yeah, we heard that the Acolyte got canceled. Thank fucking God. We've only talked extensively about how the Acolyte ruins anything extraneous in the Star Wars universe. It makes a whole bunch of things not canon.
Remember when Star Wars was fucking cool, dude?
Make Star Wars great again. So, what I've actually been doing?
Yeah, dude, what have you been up to?
Been editing a lot.
Yeah.
Been trying to upload more for you guys because I want to take you guys a little bit more serious. I really appreciate all your guys' support. Up until this point, you guys have been absolutely crushing it, and we really appreciate it. Like, we're not, like, it always comes back to we were never expecting, like, the support that we've gotten up until this point, but we really appreciate each and every single one of you guys tuning in and watching a podcast about just two bros just hanging out. And that's really all our channel is, just two bros.
Yeah, I mean, we've said it before. I mean, our podcast, our channel literally is just kind of us just riffing. And we literally were like, what? I mean, a lot of our time, we'll come up with ideas just out here. We'll have like a beer or, you know, a couple shots or something, smoke a little something, and we just come up with ideas for our channel. So we kind of figure like, there's been so many times, dude.
You guys should have been out with us last time because we were literally talking for like, what, 6 hours?
Just about fucking whatever, dude.
And, you know, it got a little bit emotional. And something I wanted to say to not just you, but more specifically the audience is, you know, I do something very randomly where I just tell my friends, like, hey, I really fucking appreciate you.
Yeah.
And I'll just send a homie a random text or...
Yeah.
You know, I told you, I came up to you, gave this guy a hug, and was like, oh, hey, man, like, I really appreciate and, like, have a lot of respect for what you do.
Yeah, dude, and same to you, dude. I said that to you when you did that, too, which I think is, you know, I feel like people don't do that all that often. It's kind of sad that, like, my first reaction was, like, I was like, what's that for? Like, I thought, like, something bad had happened or something, but, you know, and you were just like, no, I was just, like, letting you know I appreciate you, and I'm like, damn, you know, like, people should do that more.
Absolutely.
Why is it weird for something?
That's why I want to do it.
Yeah, and like, but that's why I was just like, oh, okay, and I just kind of like went and did whatever I was doing, and I was just thinking about it. I was like, damn, I was like, it's kind of sad that like we're at a point where people, I mean, not that there aren't people out there that do that already, but like for the most part, people are not just that like appreciative of each other. I feel like people are just kind of, you know, in their own bubble, in their own kind of world, and
it's easy to like
get lost in your own life and not think about others, kind of thing. Or
in parallel with that, but like you know, there's a certain autonomy that you reach in like your maybe young teenage years where like you realize other people are going through the exact like other people have lives. Like, it's like seeing your teacher outside of school for the first time. It's like, oh shit, you're an actual human. Like, you're not an NPC.
Oh yeah. Or like sometimes you tend to forget that, like, you know, even though you have your own problems that you're working through and you've got your own shit and you're busy with your own stuff and you have your own way of navigating through life, other people have problems too. They might just be different than yours.
Exactly.
But to them, it's the same level of like a problem. Like, it's the same problem that you're having, you know. It just happens to be something different than what you're dealing with, you know. And I just, sometimes you just got to take that in consideration and just be like, you know what, like just let your friend or whoever it is know that you're like, hey, I'm there for you. You know, like I
Absolutely.
appreciate you. And like,
So I want you guys at home to just send, whether like it's a family member or one of your really good friends, or maybe if it's like not one of your super good friends, just someone you haven't talked to in a while.
bit, give a little bit of my love to you.
Yeah. That was beautiful.
I don't know why it made me think of that song, but
Give a little. No,
donate to children in Africa.
remember to donate to the dying dogs.
Animals are in shelters.
Hospice care. No, a lot of times people won't hear how much you appreciate them and their existence until the day that they die.
For real. And then it's like, then you live with regret because you're like, I should have fucking told my buddy like how much she meant to me. Or I should have told, you know, whoever, like
Yeah,
your family, like a brother or your mom or dad. Be like, I should have told them more.
Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you got to I didn't mean to make a joke out of that.
Put up a parking lot. That's just playing at the dude. Now I have to do that. If I hear that song at your funeral, I'm gonna be like, motherfucker. It's like,
What song would play at your funeral?
at my funeral?
Yeah.
Actually, is it weird that I've made like a playlist of songs I would like to be played at my funeral?
All I can hear is dun, 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 dun.
Oh, I thought,
I
I thought you were gonna play "Runaway" by Kanye. No, I've made like a playlist. I'm like, these are songs I'd like played at my funeral. You know, my uncle that passed when I was younger, he did that. They had a soundtrack, which I thought was really cool. It was like it was back in like 2010, so you know streaming services weren't as popular.
Fucking, I just imagine this is horrible, but the first thing I thought of, we gonna light it. Oh shit. Okay, sorry.
No, you're good. That's all funny though. But no, they burned CDs, and they put like 10 of his favorite songs on there that he like loved. And everybody got a copy. And so like in a way I was like, that's fucking cool because there's a way that you can remember that person through that music because that music represented them in a way, you know? And I just thought that was cool. And I was like, I'm gonna make a playlist of songs.
Shitty rappers when they die just give out their mixtape again.
Yeah, dude.
Oh fuck.
But I just thought that was cool. So I was like, I'm gonna do that, and I made a playlist of that. So
Okay, good shit. I mean, does anyone have that playlist?
it's public on my Spotify account. So if you just search up my name, it's on there, and it literally is called like "Play This at My Funeral." Like,
I give up forever to touch you.
now I got to put that song in there. We go light it up like it's dynamite. That's the first song on there.
Got a little Jamaican on that shit.
I don't know why. Hella nice night.
No, absolutely. We've been wanting to do this setup for a while. We didn't know the logistics of it.
Yeah. We've talked about it numerous times, though. I really don't want to give up this view. I mean, I fucking love this view.
No, but
It's a shame that we have to face this way and not that way.
Welcome back to the economics podcast because, you know, I mean, I've said it to you, you said it to me. I don't know how much more rent can go up to, like, warrant.
Hopefully it won't. Hopefully America starts, you know, fucking being nice to its citizens for once. Fuck. Holy shit. Being like, you know what? You've been renting with us for 4 or 5 fucking years, Cody. Why don't we give you fucking leeway, you know?
First question.
Okay.
How do we make battle passes good? I've been pondering this for a while.
That is a good question.
Because I don't feel like
battle
battle passes are inherently bad.
There are good battle passes.
Yeah.
There are good battle passes. I don't think that, you know, just to clarify, because we put out a video not too long ago. Fuck, God knows when this will come out. This will probably come out soon. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we put out a video like a couple days ago talking a little bit about that, and we had some complaints. Just to get a little bit of clarification, I don't think the idea of that is necessarily bad if it's done right. I just feel like the industry has pushed that beyond a certain line that I'm okay with. And that line being like, okay, now we're going to put things that fundamentally change the mechanics of how the game will play. Like some games do this, where it doesn't change the gameplay. It's just cosmetic, or it's just something that is just to add a little flavor to what you're doing. I'm fine with that. If you have a battle pass that people, hey, you want like these cool like skins or whatever for this game, get the battle pass. But the core of the game will remain the same. I'm totally okay with that. An example I can think of is Sea of Thieves. So that game, anything as far as combat and stuff goes, pretty much the same. If they do add something that changes the combat up a little bit, it's free to everyone and it's accessible to everyone. I'm doing a Trump thing right now. I don't know. It's free. No. But I feel like in Call of Duty's case, that's where it was like, it started out a cool idea and then they started putting guns in there. And then it's like, okay, well, now I got to fucking grind this battle pass out to get this gun, which is at the end of that battle pass. And if I don't get there, then that battle pass is essentially locked because I didn't fucking complete it in the time period of the season. Cosmetics, fine, essentially. Or even vehicle skins, cosmetics. Like anything like that.
That doesn't affect the game.
Right. So if I choose not to pay for that, I can still go into the game and play it like it's fine. It's when you go to pop in the game that you haven't played in a couple weeks and you go, what the fuck's going on? Like, why are these kids are running around with this one gun that's melting everyone? And then you do research on it and you're like, oh, it's at the end of this battle pass of a season that I missed out on because I haven't been playing Call of Duty 24/7. That's my issue with battle passes.
I think there needs to be a little bit of a, and I've actually made a video recently on battle passes, and the reason I brought it up because I wanted to get your 2 cents on it. There should be a bridge in the pay and free version of a battle pass.
Right.
So I don't think a paid and a free version should be qualitatively different. I think it should be a time-based thing. Okay. So I'm just gonna lay out my format, and you can say agree or disagree.
Spit.
So for the paid version, I say you get everything as you like level up, and whatever, $10 for the battle pass.
Sure.
It acts as a normal battle pass.
Right.
You level up something, you unlock it right away. I think a free version should still give you everything within the battle pass.
Okay.
But it's just at the end of the season that you get it. So it's behind a time barrier, and it's whether you want it now or later.
Okay.
And that you could still give a drip feed of things. Like you could still give like, every 10 levels, you get a little something for the free player.
Right.
But, I don't think it should be anything you miss out on, because I think just having stuff now is still going to incentivize people to buy the thing now.
Right.
Or you could have it be like, and then for the player that like missed out on the season, like let's say you just had a really busy month and a half.
Yeah.
You should give them an opportunity, and that still goes with the free thing. Like if you don't level up your pass all the way, you still paid for the pass, you still get the stuff at the end of the season, even though you didn't pay.
Right.
Or to even cater somewhat to the corporations, you didn't level the pass up all the way. You missed out on these levels. The season ended. Once you open the game again, it gives you a notification like, hey, you didn't finish the pass. Here's what you missed out on. Do you want to buy those levels that you missed out on?
Okay, but time out on that thought. But you already paid for the battle pass. You paid for that season.
No, I agree.
So it's like $10 and you can unlock this. The thing that's bullshit is if I go into the next season, it's like, all those things are locked out. It's like, well, technically
that's what
I
I'm
fucking
saying.
bought it.
Like even if it's in the middle of like two seasons.
I don't know if you should necessarily like I don't think putting more money into, hey, you can buy these things that you technically already paid for.
No, I agree.
You get what I mean? Like
I'm just saying like that's the realistic way I could see about them doing it. And plus like
just to give you the option to try to get it.
Exactly, if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Because like I explained FOMO on the Metroid video, and that kind of dates us a little bit, but I have it. I'm just as susceptible as everybody else is to the tactics that they have, and of course there's the predatory practice of like the gem system.
Yeah.
Of like let's say a battle pass is like 1,000 V-Bucks, because Fortnite is like the most common one.
Right.
But it's like, hey, you can buy for $5, you can get 995 V-Bucks. But you can get like 2,000 for like $20 or whatever. And it's just like, well, because you're gonna buy like 20,000 V-Bucks, there's a super special for 20,050 V-Bucks. So it's just that constant domino effect. Like
even Fortnite is a good example. I'm not a huge Fortnite fan. I mean, I don't hate it. It's fine. I've had fun with it the few times I've played it.
But in the clip where he says he hates Fortnite.
But I'm just, it's not really my style of game. But, you know, I did like some things they were doing. I don't know if they've taken it out, but I really did like that part of the map where you ride on the rails.
Yeah.
And I thought the traversal of that was actually really cool. I was like, damn, if they made a whole map of this, I was like, that'd be fucking cool.
That
to me.
was one of the few times I'm like, come play Fortnite with me. But I haven't even booted up the game in a while.
But to Fortnite's credit, its battle pass is cosmetic.
Yeah.
Right? So all the guns and everything is still something that you just load into the game and find on the map. So fundamentally, the gameplay doesn't really change all that much. If they do add new weapons, they're added into the map so they're accessible to everyone, no matter what you pay or don't pay. I'm fine with that, because it's like, it's not that I'm saying like, okay, once a game is set, it's set. You can't do anything to improve it or make it. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that when it comes to something that could possibly change how a game literally plays, I feel like that should be free to everyone, because then you're locking out certain players from enjoying the game, and that's bullshit, because you're holding a carrot on the end of the string going like, oh, you want this cool thing everyone else has got?
It's pay to win.
Exactly. Give me fucking money. Like, I just think that's bullshit.
My problem is, and you've said it as well, is that every game is installing a battle pass when it's not necessary. Like, I think Diablo has a battle pass or something like that, or I think so. I'm just like, oh, what about this game needs a battle pass? What about this game needs like, you know, I think they also have like oh, you can spend like however much extra bucks to get like a level bonus early on in the game, like a early game start. I'm just like, that's fucking bullshit. Like, that totally like, I'm not, as far as that game, like, and that's one of the games that I'm playing currently. Yeah, but I'm exclusively free to play. I paid for the package, and we kind of had a situation where we, like, for reasons that we won't go into, we put down the game. I was like, I paid for this fucking game. I'm gonna play this game.
Your money's worth.
Yeah, exactly. Whether it's shitty or not.
Yeah.
And for me personally, I very much assume it's like the Fallout 4 of Diablo games, where it's just like, it's probably really good for someone's first time, but probably the best overall experience is likely Diablo 2, because I know how well regarded that game is. And you said you played a fair bit of it.
Yeah. Diablo 2 is really good. I've played so minimal of Diablo 4, I can't even give you an opinion on it. I mean, from first like impressions, I was like, damn, graphically it looks incredible. Sure. I did like that some of the characters in the game, where it's like your typical like necromancer, or your not necromancer.
I'm actually rolling necromancer right now.
The other character that I was rocking, the one with the bow. In
Archer,
is that the name of it?
Elf?
I can't remember.
Ranger.
It was a demon hunter in
Ranger.
Yeah, but it was a demon hunter in Diablo 3. But
they have a fucking bow.
Yeah. But in past Diablo games, it would be like, okay, that is what you do. You are a ranged character. Everyone kind of goes in on like these hordes of enemies. You kind of hang back and just deliver damage. I liked the fact that in Diablo 4, it's like, okay, well, there's a build where it's like, not only can you do range, but you also have like melee attacks as well. And that's another tree that you can go down and level up. So it's almost like you have two play styles with one character. And I was like, that's fucking cool. Because if I wanted to make my ranged character more of a melee build, I could do that first and then build my ranged side of it, or the other way around. And I thought that was really cool upon first impression. Now, I've only played maybe 2 hours of this fucking game.
About 2 hours.
I literally can't tell you if, like, you know, I'm not going to sit here and recommend it to you, but from what little I've played, I was liking it, but it just, you know, it fell off from my radar.
Do you have any desire to like just give it another go?
I would if I had friends to play with, because I feel like that game is like a game that I wouldn't really get a whole lot of enjoyment out of by myself. I would put a game like Borderlands in the same conversation. Is Borderlands a good game? Yes. I just think that it's heightened significantly with friends, because, you know, depending on what characters you play, I mean, it's almost the same exact game, except one's a first-person shooter and one's a point-and-click.
Well, I'm going to solo it, but if you wanted to run it with me, that's fine. If you don't want to, because I'm already kind of going through it, I totally understand. I don't want to
fucking play video games with you.
I get that.
I'm kidding.
This is just how I work as a person. I don't like playing games cooperatively. That's just not like...
Well, and the reason that is for me is because I just feel like you're dependent on another person being committed to it with you. That's my issue with it. And, you know, life gets in the way. People get busy. It totally understandable. It's not the fact that I hate playing co-op games. It's just that it's easier for me to play single player games on my time. Sure. And my time is different than your time. It's different than my other friends' times. everybody's got their own schedule, everyone's got their own life going on, so it's hard to be like on the same wavelength, be like, hey dude, I've got Saturday off, you got Saturday off, let's grind this game out. And it's just hard to do that as you get older, because then you're like, dude, I haven't touched this game in 5 months because I just can't seem to
Think up, yeah.
Exactly.
Well, my problem is immersion.
You can't get engrossed.
No, like I feel like I haven't gotten super engrossed in Diablo yet. Like I feel like I'm doing very surface level stuff where I'm not like really rich within the world. And I don't know if that'll ever come. Like the voice acting is good, the graphics are good, the gameplay's halfway decent.
Right.
But like when it does get to that point of being like so involved with like the quests and like the characters that you interact with, I feel like I lose that when someone's like, oh, like, yeah, look at the dick on this guy.
Right. Because you're almost like too focused on dicking around that you can't. But see, that's why I feel like Borderlands works.
Sure, because
the game's kind of going for that vibe already. And even if you don't want it, like, there's enough that happens in gameplay, story-wise, that even if you tune in, tune out, like, if you're not 100% tuned into the story, right? Every once in a while that you do tune in, you're able to pick up the pieces and be like, okay, this is what's happening in the story. Because it's not like I'm like, Troy, who I'm playing with, because I was playing Borderlands with Troy. I'd be like, Troy, shut up, like, I can't fucking understand the cutscenes. No, I mean, him would be bullshitting through it, but there would be times where we're shooting and playing and characters would be talking and you just happen to pick up on what they're saying.
Yeah.
And so you end up understanding like what's going on with the story. So I feel like a game like that really works. And I told him that. I was like, dude, I'm actually really enjoying Borderlands 1, Borderlands 2. And then the game I wasn't really enjoying as far as the story goes was 3. I feel like 3 really
all gameplay. All gameplay. Even I know, and I'm not a Borderlands.
And that's what I told him. I was like, dude, honestly, Borderlands 3 has the best gameplay out of all of them. If I could skip the cutscenes.
The cutscenes?
Yeah, the cutscenes. If I could skip the cutscenes.
Me when I'm talking to my girlfriend.
If I could skip the cutscenes, it would be a much more enjoyable, a much more enjoyable experience. But the fact that you can't is just kind of like, you're just like rolling your eyes going like, fuck, like get me
back
out
in
of
the
this.
game.
Yeah, like,
well, like, man, and it's just like a historical thing for me. Every time I've tried to do a cooperative game with someone other than what we do with the channel, like it's my sense of immersion is broken like very drastically, or like someone's like drastically over leveled, or it's like, oh hey, like I'm max light level in Destiny. It's like, I'll carry you through the game. Like, bro, I don't want to be carried. Like, I want to struggle. I enjoy the struggle. Like, because then like if you're just melting this fucking boss, like
there's no fun in it for you.
Yeah, that ruins my sense of gratification of overcoming something significant. Because what is significant at that point? Because you're fucking up everything. You have all these exotics. You're fucking just like, yeah, this is the hardest boss in the game, and I just two-shot him. I'm like, bro.
But that's the thing, like about playing with like other friends too. Like even my brothers. Like it's like Sea of Thieves is a good game to play cooperatively because there's no story that's like like it's just we hop in, we get on a ship, and we do a couple missions together and then we call it.
But I also don't think you can be carried in Sea of Thieves.
No, but you can't. And that's kind of the point I'm making too, is like, but even if like, it's hard for me to start like a story-based game like Borderlands with somebody or something along those lines like Dying Light or something with my brothers because we're not on the same schedule. Like we don't have the same days off. And I've expressed that to them too, just like, you know, with any of my friends, like with Troy too. It's like, it's just hard for everyone to get on the same page.
Absolutely.
To be like, I don't want to be carried.
Yeah, fuck no.
So then everybody kind of stops playing the game until the next person's ready to play. So then you're like, oh yeah, dude, I don't even remember that we're like level 12 in this game and we're like a quarter of the way through.
Yeah, but also it's like once you do, let's say it's been like 2 weeks since you played, and it's like, oh, okay, like what the fuck were we doing? Like
exactly. Or if say you grinded it all the way out, say, you know, by the grace of God, you were managed to get all the way to the end of the game, and then you're in end game territory. And then it's been a while since you played with your friend, then you come back to it and you're like on some amped up shit. You're like, dude, I don't even remember how to play this game and I'm getting smoked right now. Like I can't, you know, and then you kind of sucks the fun out of it because you don't remember how to play the fucking game. Like, or at least you're not as skilled as the last time you played it because you fucking put it down for like a month.
That's pretty much the whole reason I restarted Elden Ring, which I need to get back to more of that. Because I mean the DLC came out, everyone's having a great time with DLC. I've ignored every bit of content because I have like so many content creators that I watch. They're like, I'm playing the Elden Ring DLC. I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna spoil that for myself, but I'm just like, it's been like a year since I beat that game. I'm just like, well, like it's still a Souls game, and I'm very proficient at these games. Like I'm coming back in at an 11 out of 10 right now because I
Right.
hear it's like the fucking hardest shit. It's like they had to nerf it like shortly after releasing it because it was just that hard. And there's these fucking shits that you collect that are only exclusive to the DLC. They're like these, I don't know, little crystals or something that help buff you in the DLC segment that doesn't have any effect on the rest of the game. It doesn't have any effect on the base game. Like what you get as far as these buff crystals don't affect the base game or like a new game pluses because I guess it's just that hard. And while I'm fine with difficulty, like yeah, coming back after a year hiatus of like this level of what a Souls game feels like to play, and then just jumping in the fray of that, I'm like, oh yeah, I'd get cooked, and it'd probably take me a long time to reacclimate to this difficulty.
Does that game only have like a base difficulty? You can't choose a difficulty
Yeah, no,
on it?
no difficulty. That's all
So
from
then that
soft.
makes sense why they would do the crystal thing where it's just like, hey, if some people are really struggling, there's the option to get these, right?
I also don't know if they did a numbers nerf. Like, did they just give these crystals to buff you, or did they do a numbers nerf on these bosses? I don't know the logistics of it, but yeah, I mean that's something else that's on my plate. And before I continue to talk about some of the games I'm playing, I want to hear a little bit about what you're
I was
playing.
gonna say, like, just kind of bouncing off what you said about like content creators kind of, talking about shit where you're like, I don't want to fucking like stop, like I don't want to watch these videos like spoiling anything. Excuse me. I've been really into this. Obviously, it's a game. For if you don't know what it is, it's a huge popular game that I've been meaning to get around to playing for a long time. It's Half-Life. It's Valve's first game.
Nice.
I have played a few of Valve's games. I've played Portal, and I've played Left 4 Dead. Never really played the Half-Life games. I played a little bit of the first one a long time ago, but I hardly remember it. So, and I just got to a point where I was like, this game has been sitting on my desktop for fucking 10 years at this point. I was like, I really need to get around to playing it. So I finally started playing it.
And you've actually been streaming that.
I have been streaming that, and I've been really enjoying it.
Description.
The thing that I've noticed though is like, if I look up one thing, like I watched a documentary talking about how Valve created Half-Life, which was really cool and interesting to see how like Valve started as a developer. But ever since I watched that video, I've been getting nothing but recommendations of like Half-Life and Half-Life 2, and I'm like, dude, like, and a lot of them are like singing high praises of, especially of Half-Life 2. And like, I don't mind watching some of them as long as it doesn't get into spoilery shit where I'm like, oh, I like to see like what I'm gonna be getting into eventually. But a lot of them are like, they'll start like getting into spoiler shit, and I'm like, and I'll like close out of the video, and I'm like, fuck, I don't want to like. But even then, after I did that, I'd still get recommended those videos. They'd be like, why this character was monumental to the story of Half-Life 2. I'm like, dude, I'm like, I want to go in blind because
Yeah, speaking of the domino of recommended content, you watch one fucking Asmongold video, and your feed is just like
littered with it.
oh
yeah.
my god. Which I like all his stuff. I like a lot of his takes. I agree with a lot of what he says. But I'm just like, dude, like my recommended feed is fucked right now. But you've also said that like, and I can relate to this, and I've said this to you, that there's almost like a pretentiousness to like the Half-Life community, and I relate to that a lot with like the Souls community, which I'm a part of the Souls community, and you're all fucking assholes. You're like the worst chat ever.
I honestly was talking to him about this for a long time because I'm going to get into these games. Everything I've heard about From Software games is exactly what I'm looking for in developers, and exactly what I'm looking for as far as like innovative gameplay, as far as level design. All of that shit, I've heard nothing but praise about this developer.
Before you go on,
okay.
Miyazaki, he was like interviewed or something like that, and just remember your thought, because this is like a very one-off statement where he's just like they were talking to him about Elden Ring, and pretty much all he said was just like Elden Ring, it was really good, I'm really happy it came out, but it's not quite the perfect game that I wanted to make yet. And everyone is singing such high praises about this game, and Miyazaki's just cracking his knuckles. I'm just like, what a fucking flex! Oh my god.
That's really good. That means that he's got a drive to make something even better. That means that, you know, there's going to be more to come, which is really good. That's a good sign for fans of those games.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, as you were saying.
No, you're good. The only thing I was going to say is that everything about those games seems like it'd be right up my alley.
Absolutely.
So I've been talking to this guy. I was like, I might stream those games, and he was like, I wouldn't do that. And
yeah,
I kind of see why, because Valve kind of has the same. I was telling him this. I was like, Valve fans kind of have the same thing going on as From Software games, where they backseat the fuck out of what you're doing. Like I was playing Half-Life, and I had a couple of people pop into chat. Some of them are nice. I don't want to say everyone was, you know, a dick. Some people were really cool. They're like, dude, Half-Life, that's fucking awesome. Like, haven't played this game in years. I mean, that game came out in '98. It is damn near as old as me. And I'll kind of dive a little bit, if you're cool with that, about why I really dig this game so far. But to kind of just continue on about my problems with the fans is some of them were like, you know, oh, you're not even playing this on the right settings. Like, okay, yeah, I've never even seen someone play this game with the brightness that you have on. Yeah, your shotgun has 2 shot abilities. You need a right click for the double shot. And I was just like, okay, like I was cool with these guys at first. And I was like, okay, like I hear you. And then it started getting into territory, was just straight up insulting me. And I was like, oh, okay. And I fucking blocked that guy. And I was like, holy shit. And not everyone was like that. I had a couple people in my chat, really nice, really cool. They didn't spoil shit for me. They were just like, you know, if I was stuck on something, I would look to chat and be like, what the fuck am I doing wrong? And, you know, the people in my chat were nice enough to be like, oh, you got to crouch jump. And I was like, crouch jump. You know, if I kind of look to chat to be like, what the fuck am I doing wrong? And they tell me,
absolutely.
like, then I'm totally cool with that. But if you just start backseat gaming, I'm like, dude, give me a minute to try to at least figure it out. Like,
well, like,
then I'm not cool with that. And
the thing with, I'm a seasoned Souls player. Like I've played all of them. I don't love all of them equally. They're not my children, but I love them. There's a lot of talk on like the optimization front of like, you know, it's like, oh my god, you're not even like building optimally. I'm like, oh, you're damn right, I'm not building optimally. I'm going full retard in this bitch right now.
Right.
And just like, yeah, I swing big sword. That's all that I care about. And yeah, I don't look to play those games optimally, but there's definitely like a criticism if you're playing in like a weird way, which is like one, I think, especially Demon Souls and Dark Souls 1, like I just want to let you like ruminate in those games and just kind of like not ferment, but just like really soak them in for all they're worth, because I think especially in those older titles, like I personally, those are my favorites. So Demon Souls and Dark Souls 1 are my favorite 2 titles of the Souls franchise. And I know a lot of you newer school Souls players are just like, oh, what? Like Elden Ring,
that's crazy.
Elden Ring is the best.
But I mean, you got to give it up. That's a good sign that like there's just so many good games in that franchise that you could interchange any one of them and people would be like, oh, I can't even, you know, knock that.
I think, and it's because we're of the older generation. I hate to say that.
It's kind of true.
That charm is a stat on our stat sheet. Something that's charming, like,
or just gives it a bit of character that stands out from everything else that their competitors are doing.
Exactly. It's not all about how mechanically like strong this is. I think the later games are mechanically stronger. I think they're mechanically more tight. I think the AI is much more sophisticated, causing like a greater sense of satisfaction on like overcoming these really tough bosses. But
do you just think that it's kind of losing the spark that made it what it is to begin with? Like it's almost like kind of running that idea, it's like running its course?
That is a really good question. Well, so I'll give you guys a little bit of my background. I actually came into I played a little bit of Dark Souls 1 when I first started, did not finish the game, played Dark Souls 2, and funnily enough, that was the game I got into Souls games on, but I didn't beat the game, and then Dark Souls 3 came out, and then I wildly fell in love. So technically, you could call me like a later Souls player.
Okay.
But retroactively going back to those older games like Demon Souls, and I did play Demon Souls on the PS3, and I played on the PS5, and I played Dark Souls Remastered, and I just fell wildly in love with those games. And I don't know if it's become like a monetary thing of like, oh, okay, are they just pumping these bitches out? But I also recognize that they still have a lot of love and care put into them. And
But I would
It's
just to
tough.
kind of just to bounce off what you're just saying. I think that you could honestly put the later Resident Evil games that have been coming out lately in that same conversation where it's like, okay, survival horror, awesome. Game literally invented the genre damn near. I know there's
Absolutely.
Alone in the Dark that came out before for any people that are my age or older that know what the fuck they're talking about when it comes to those games. But there's the OG Alone in the Dark that came out technically before the first Resident Evil. So that's, you could technically say that's the first survival horror, but let's be honest, Resident Evil is the first one.
It cultivated the genre.
As we know it today. But you could say that, like, okay, well, Capcom's just kind of taking those old games and just remaking them, or like, Demon Souls.
All fucking what, 22 of them?
There's a lot. It's like Final Fantasy. It's ridiculous. But they're also making new games on top of that too. So they're, Resident Evil 8, like the next title will be Resident Evil 9. So they're adding on to the genre and trying to innovate in areas where they can. I think where, it's acceptable for the developer to keep doing, like, why people aren't like, like pitchforks and torches towards Capcom going like, what the fuck, you're just, recycling content, is because they're not just remaking the game, they're damn near improving everything about the game in every aspect. Like, coming from someone that was a hardcore, like our channel, we did Resident Evil and Resident Evil 4, the original, right? I mean, if you watch those videos, I've played the shit out of Resident Evil 4. You could probably tell by the way I was playing it. So I mean, I love that game. That was my favorite Resident Evil game for the longest time. And then the 4 remake came out. And as somebody that was a hardcore fan of 4 who didn't ask for a Resident Evil 4 remake, I was like, I don't know if I would touch that. Just because to me it was such a masterpiece. I mean, they improved on it in every aspect. Every single aspect. To the point where it's like, if I want to play Resident Evil 4, I think of the remake. That's the one I want to play. So in their case, I feel like From Software, I don't want to say things without having played the games, but from what I hear, I feel like they're in the same conversation. I feel like their games, even though they may be taking a formula that's, some would say, is redundant at this point, going for Resident Evil and From Software, they're improving on it with every game. So I feel like you got to give them a pass, because they're trying the best that they can to make the gameplay as interesting as possible without being like, okay, I just played, like Call of Duty. Like, I just played this fucking game last year. Like, what about this year's game is going to be that much better than last year's game?
I'm not touching that shit.
Like, and they always fucking, it's like a goddamn fucking marketing campaign every year where it's like, they say the fucking perfect lines where it's like, we're innovating in this captivating campaign, the best zombies you've ever seen. We're bringing back old prestige in multiplayer. Like, all the cookie, like, I don't know what the term is, but like the go-to phrases to get you to go, I'm going to buy this year's game. They say it every fucking year.
Buzzwords.
The buzzwords, thank you. The buzzwords, they know them. They know them. They know exactly how to sink their fucking hooks into those OG Call of Duty fans to get them go, all right, I guess I'll fucking buy this $70 game. And I'm just at a point where I'm like, I'm fucking done, dude. I'm fucking done. Like, the game will be cool. Sorry, I know I'm going on a huge tangent about Call of Duty now, but it's just to a point where I'm starting to really nitpick and notice the things about their games lately, where it's like the first 3 to 4 months, Call of Duty is solid. Yeah. It's fun. The problem is that they move on from it after that, because they're like, okay, time to work on the next game. And then you log in and you go, okay, let's get in the fucking Warzone. You're like, okay, well, the servers keep crashing, or okay, well, now my guns are glitching, or because they're not taking care of their servers because they're too focused on the next game. So they basically let the game go to shit, and then you don't want to play it. And that's my issue with fucking Call of Duty. I don't feel like From Software, I know I'm fucking rambling hugely. I'm getting to a point, but I just feel like From Software and Capcom aren't necessarily at that point yet with their games. Is it a franchise that, is kind of taking the formula that they started with and just keep expanding on it? Yes. Does Call of Duty kind of do that same thing? Sure. I just feel like where one does it the right way, the other does it the wrong way.
Well, here's the thing. Sorry.
No, I know I was a rant. I apologize.
You couldn't have picked a better channel to rant on, but I think, one, like I said, I'm not gonna touch Call of Duty. Not even not any of my friends can sway me at this point. It's just a waste of money, like, for a couple months entertainment when I could be focusing on other more important games that'll give me a little bit more. Do I appreciate what the games do for that 3 to 4 month period? And that's even saying a little bit more. Like, it's more like 3 months at most for me, and it's more like a 2 month where yeah, it brings the squad together. Yeah, let's fucking yeah, guys, let's hop on Warzone tonight. Like, yeah, let's get on, get some drinks, have a good time. Yeah, it brings me back to that 2009 where I remember what it felt like to be alive.
Yeah. The thing about it, just to kind of add a little point to that, it's the co-op experience with those games is easy because it's a turn off your brain, dick around in the chat.
It knows what it is.
Exactly. So that's why it works. But go on.
I will give it that, but we have gone to the point, and Star Wars is actually a really good example of this, where the community can have a big enough impact on something to get something shut down. I think Call of Duty has not necessarily overstayed its welcome, but it's overstayed its welcome without rethinking its formula from the ground up. I think too many companies have been absolved into the conglomeration that is Call of Duty, companies that we very much love. And it's just like, oh, hey, come work on our monopoly. Like, fuck your corporation, we're shutting you down. Come work with us. And I think enough is enough. I think I want Activision and Treyarch to rethink what it is to make games again, instead of one just continuing to go down the monetization route of, hey, we have this game that we're not going to take care of after 4 months, and we're going to monetize the shit out of as much as possible for the interim. And then after that, go fuck yourself.
Right. And I think the word that would best describe the state of Call of Duty right now is formulaic.
Absolutely.
Everything is a formula of what they've done before. It's like, all right, we know how to make these maps. You know, we'll do it this, and this, boom, done. It's almost like AI generated at this point. It's like you don't even have to fucking put your heart and soul into it anymore because they know they've been making Call of Duty games for literally damn near as long as I've been alive.
It might be, for all you know.
But that's where I feel like you give games a pass, like Resident Evil, is like the moment you think it's a formulaic thing, or it's like, okay, this is just going to be like Resident Evil 2 remake, which is what I thought. And then you actually play it and you're like, okay, they've changed a lot of things here. You know, like the like the survival knife. Like in the original Resident Evil 4, it was indestructible. In Resident Evil 4 remake, that shit can break. And it changes like how, and they've added way more melee options into the Resident Evil 4 remake than they did in the original. And there's counters and shit. There was counters in the original Resident Evil 4, but this one you can block and you can perfect parry with your knife, which was something that's not
I took
even
advantage of that shit.
But that wasn't even in the Resident Evil 2 remake. So that's what I'm saying is there's an expansion there. And then there's like hub areas like the lake in the original Resident Evil 4. It was just the boss fight with the salamander, right, on the boat. In the Resident Evil 4 remake, it's that, but you can also freely drive that boat wherever, and there's secrets all over. You'll find a fucking pistol in some random cave where the game's not telling you to go because they're like, you know, rewarding you for the exploration. There's a little bit of exploration, which is kind of new for a game like that. I mean, there's exploration in the OG Resident Evils, don't get me wrong, but it's on a much smaller scale.
Yeah.
So they kind of expanded the scale of that, and it makes it more interesting. And I just think that they're just hitting it out of the park so far.
And we've talked about, also I'm very much enjoying this podcast, by the way.
Me too, dude. Fuck.
We've talked a lot about like reaching graphical peaks. I think games right now, or at least for a good while, are looking as good as they're gonna look. Where games have evolved is how much they go outwards, like how big a map is, how much they can expand things a little bit, and it's ended up resulting in, and I've brought this phrase up a lot, you know, beautiful to look at, not a lot to touch. Like they focus so much on pushing things out that there's not enough things to interact with within the world to make it feel lived in, or like there's things to do. Like
they lost so much of their like passion for the gameplay because they put it all in the spectacle.
I said with Bloodborne,
that the game's got to work as a game first.
Yeah, I said with Bloodborne, where it's like I have a love for Bloodborne. I really enjoyed the game. But you can tell it's just like, all right, you know, we're going to do our Dark Souls formula and it's going to be a good game and stuff. But it's like, how many fucking skulls can we put in this corner? I mean, really?
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
And I mean, I would be more than okay for like a denser map. like a smaller map, but with a lot of things to interact with, a lot of people to talk to. Like, I want to feel as if the world is lived in, and that was one of the problems I had with the Spider-Man games, particularly Spider-Man 1, where it's just like it didn't feel like a world. It felt like these empty boxes that I was swinging around.
Yeah, and I feel like Spider-Man did it better, so I will give credit to Spider-Man in that sense. However, I did feel like after a certain period, like after a certain amount of hours that I put in that game, and I've played it twice now, that it started to do the thing that I give Ubisoft shit for, which is where it feels like you're just checking off boxes. There's no passion in the side quests. There's no passion in the shit that you do outside of the main story, where it's just like, okay, you're in this section of the map, you pull up your fucking map, and it'll be like, okay, in this section you need to get 10 outposts, and you need to find 10 caches, and then you need to set 10 boats on fire, but it's a checklist. To where you're just like, fuck, and then you look at that and it's like one section out of 50 sections, you're like, fuck me. I'm like, I might put 200 hours in this fucking game for a checklist? Like, why would I want to do that? There's no fun in that. It feels like a chore. Like,
Listen, we've glazed this game extensively on the channel, but we're gonna keep on doing it because it's that good of a game. But Arkham Knight, like, you could say it has like a similar checklist where it's just like, oh, okay, like you filled out 70% of this quest, but qualitatively, it's not even the same. Like, the quality of each side quest in Arkham Knight, like, extenuates like Batman as a character and feels like there's the same love and care in these side quests as much as the main story. Like, you could have pitched any of these quests to me as like a one-off comic, and I would have fucking read it.
if they, here's the difference. If they would have done it where it's like the Batman side quests are like a civilian going like, hey, Batman, there's a guy over there that just stole my purse. Can you go stop him? I'd be like, oh my God, how many of these fucking things do I have to do? The way that they do it in the Arkham games, though, it's like solving a case.
Yeah.
So you're already engaged because the moment you show up, they're like, huh, what, like you as the player trying to figure out what's going on. So it doesn't feel like a side quest because it feels like a mystery. And you're like, okay, I want to fucking know what the fuck. Okay, so this guy got shot here. Let's go into detective mode. Okay, where did that shot come? And then you're already like, I want to figure this out. Like, who the fuck is that? Is that a known villain or is it just some guy? Like, you're already engaged. As opposed to like, Batman, they fucking guy kicked me in the ass. Like, like
Oh
you know,
my
like, and then
God.
you're just like, I've done 50 of these. They're all the same. Like, I'm bored. As opposed to the way they do it in Arkham, where it's like every single one of those is a different thing that connects to something else. And you're like, by the end of the quest, you're like, damn, that was fucking awesome.
And just
like,
executed so beautifully.
and then you
Oh
like
my
look at
God.
your watch, you're like, fuck, that took me like 3 hours. Didn't feel like it, just blew by.
No, just like the level of engrossment. Yeah, um, but also we're gonna talk about Arkham Knight more in the
Yeah, and I
future.
want to talk a little bit about Half-Life. Dude, we're kind of spitting on this fucking podcast. I ain't gonna lie. How long have we been going?
Almost an hour.
Yeah, I've got a little bit more to say about Valve
No,
and stuff
please.
too. But no, go continue what were you saying?
I was just gonna say, I'm gonna limit how much I talk about Arkham Knight because I mean, one, that's probably my number one, if maybe number two favorite game of all time. And yes, I could talk about it endlessly, but you guys hear us talk about it so much that I just want to limit that a little bit because there's so much room for discussion on many different fronts. Like, you know, we're not just Arkham Knight the podcast, but as much as we love that game, I adore that game.
Yeah, and I kind of want to like reserve my thoughts on Arkham Knight specifically because all the things that I'm talking about, I could go into specifics, but we're gonna play that game. So when we play that game, when we do those quests, I'll literally point it out and we can talk specifically about each point of that game and why we love it. So I'm gonna save a lot of those thoughts for that.
No,
So
I agree. To date ourselves a little bit, we're almost, well, I guess it wouldn't because we have some city stuff stockpiled, but as for us, we're almost done recording Arkham City. If you want to grab a jacket.
no, I'm good.
I mean, your jacket's right on the.
I'll grab it if I get
Okay.
really cold.
Yeah, we're almost done recording Arkham City. I think next recording session is going to be a wrap up, likely. If not that one, then definitely the next one. But I don't see us going for 2 recording sessions. And I feel so mixed on that game because I have just as much love for it as I have like problems with its design fundamentally. But I mean, I recognize that it's valuable. I just think, you know, unfortunately Arkham Knight just kind of undermines the experience a little bit because everything is just done better. But once again,
Yeah.
I'll shut up about Arkham Knight.
You know, I thought about this too, where I was like, okay, Resident Evil 4 remake and Resident Evil 2 remake. I think Resident Evil 4 remake is better. Where I feel like it's different than Arkham City compared to Arkham Knight when it comes to RE2 remake, 2 remake to 4 remake, right? Is that if you really think about it, Resident Evil 4 remake is a like a reimagining of action horror. So there's no like ink ribbons, you know, there's no like kind of I mean, there's a little bit of backtracking, but not to the extent of the 2 remake. So there's a reason to go back and play the 2 remake because that is survival horror at its core. That game is literally like, okay, how do we do a reimagining of survival horror, right? And then you play RE4 remake, and that's a reimagining of action horror. So they're kind of the same, but there's enough variety in the gameplay, like that. Like they don't throw ammo at you the way that they do in the RE4 remake. In 2, they don't. It's more like you kind of like have to count your bullets, kind of figure out, you know, okay, I know I'm going to go back in this room. I already know there's a zombie in here that I didn't kill before.
Yeah, how much can you afford to expend?
It's like, should I go in this room or should I fucking loop all the way around and avoid him and save what 3 bullets I got? That's survival horror.
Bro, I ran into so many fucking bear traps. That was the survival horror for me.
Fucking real.
My
But
ankles.
that just wrecked.
Yeah.
But with Arkham City and Arkham Knight, they're the same game. One just does the other better. That's the difference. So like when you go back to Arkham City, you're really just, honestly, in my opinion, going back for the story. If you enjoy the story all that much or the side quests in that game, then totally go back to it. But if you're like the package as a whole, which one would I prefer? Arkham Knight, because it does everything that City does just 10 times better, in my opinion. And I know people are going to come after us in the comments. They already have.
Do it, pussy.
But I really am standing on business when it comes to that. I really think Arkham Knight is just a better game.
Oh, I'm right there with you.
Gameplay wise, there's no real reason to go back to City because if I like, you know, on my personal time between the two, I'd rather play Arkham Knight every day. Like
Absolutely.
like there's no opportunity unless I really wanted to play that story again. I mean, I'm looking at Arkham Knight and I'm like, yeah, this game just does everything better. Why would I go back and play the lesser game? It's like you said, it just undermines that experience, sadly.
I've been thinking about, and I've said I wasn't going to do this for a long time, but been thinking about writing for those games. And I wanted to do a slow burn run of Asylum just because I haven't really, like, slow burn ran through that game in forever. And just, like, one, really appreciate it, but, you know, maybe find something interesting to draw from as far as writing is concerned. Because I did Origins, and the only reason I did Origins was because it was, like, a freshman perspective on that game. But I don't know, like, the reason I avoided doing any work on those games was because of a YouTuber I introduced you to a long time ago, Micah Edmonds.
Mhm.
He has a couple retrospectives about the Arkham games, and there was so much stuff that I agreed with that I didn't feel as if I could bring anything new to the table. But
Yeah, you feel like it was already been said.
yeah, but I think maybe... I mean, there's always something to say, but I also think, like, I look at the channel Crouch Block, which is my secondary channel, as
check
like
that out.
a way of just containing my thoughts as like some kind of verbal diary almost of like, and then I can maybe come back to those videos like 2, 3, 5 years later and be like, you know what, I don't agree with this. Like, let me do a refresher, and or maybe like it gives me a reason to revisit that franchise and see if I still agree with myself from then, or maybe if I have some new points to bring up and how my thought process has evolved over the years. But, you know, maybe it will, maybe it won't, but I definitely know, and I need to shut up about this game, but I know one of the next things I want to write about is Halo Combat Evolved. You guys probably at this point know how I feel about it. I'm not going to go into it just because I've said it so much. But I did want to have you wrap up your thought about Half-Life.
Ooh, okay. So I would say I've got to be about halfway through that game. No pun intended. But I am really enjoying it. First impression of it, I was like, okay, like the game was made in 98. It's running off a very old Quake engine. So just a little backstory, not to bore you guys to death, but the guys at Valve wanted to start in game development. They had a couple friends in id Software, which I'm a huge fan of their games. I've turned Brad on to the newer Doom games.
And he's just turned me on in general.
But you played Doom 2016. You said you really enjoyed it.
I'm looking forward to Eternal.
So I've been a big fan of id Software games for a long time. Really enjoy their games. Their games are awesome. And I've played the original Dooms. I've played Quake.
Speaking of, just 5-second cut
No,
off.
go.
How long is OG Doom 1?
That depends on your difficulty.
Not the hardest, but like the one just below.
Ultraviolence kind of gave me a run for my money. That was tough.
Okay.
There was a lot of like I'd get to a room cleared out, be like fucking 10% health, be like quick save.
Yeah.
And then like just barely getting through levels, like especially Doom 2. Holy fuck. That was one of the hardest video games I've ever played in my life, period. I swear to God, that game was frustrating at times in a good way, But I guess it really just depends on you. I mean,
yeah, because I booted it up, played like a couple levels, and I was like, oh, should I stream this? And I was considering it. I'm not going to do any recording on the channel or anything. I'm going to save a lot more stuff for stream. But anyways, continue. Sorry about that.
yeah, no, please play those games. They're classics in my
I
opinion.
intend to.
So they took the Quake engine, which was the first polygon shooter. Right? I think that game came out in 96. So it's older than me. It was the first polygon shooter, meaning it was like fully 3D. So they took that engine and gave it to Valve, the guys at Valve, and they just heavily modified the shit out of it and made their own game. The thing that I've noticed, I'm like, wow, this really was revolutionary and still holds up in a lot of ways to this day with the first Half-Life, is it does environmental storytelling so fucking well, dude. Like, the thing that I was just like, holy shit, like, I really enjoy what this game is trying to go for. It's a lot of, let me show you, I'm not going to tell you. So it starts out with just kind of like you have a couple of NPCs that tell you what to do, la da 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 da. I won't spoil anything if there's people out there that have, that are like me, that have been meaning to get to that game and haven't. But there's some things that happen very early on in the game that set the course for the rest of the game. And it's, environmental storytelling, but there's some NPCs that kind of tell you exactly like who you are, what your purpose is in this area, and la da 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 da. I know I'm being vague, but once the game actually starts getting on its feet and gets going, everything from that point is you just piecing together through the environment of what's happening, which I thought was really fucking cool, man. Like, so there was some areas that you have to like, okay, I can move this box over here and then I can jump on that. And like, okay, that's how I get out of here. Or like, you'll be kind of stuck in a room and it turns into a puzzle.
Yeah.
Because you can interact with everything in the room.
Actually being able to interact with the world.
In fucking 1998,
Huge.
dude. That's crazy. Like, you can go up to a soda machine and individually hit the buttons on the soda to get specific soda. And I'm like, this game came out in 98, dude.
That's
fucking...
what we mean with like, great world to look at, nothing to touch. Like, in being able to interact with things that have no meaning at all, but just the fact that I can touch them.
Exactly, dude.
Goes a long way.
Exactly. You're immersed immediately. So like there's like things that happen in the story where they don't tell you anything at all. Like if they did, I honestly didn't catch it. But just by the gameplay alone, I was like, oh shit. I kind of want to just spoil this little part so you guys understand what I'm talking about. So there's like an experiment that's gone wrong in Half-Life, right? It opens a dimension very similar to Doom. And like these creatures from that dimension come in. It's an underground facility where they're doing these like, these experiments, that top secret shit, right? So the game gets going once that happens. Everyone starts dying because they're like, okay, we need you to get to the surface because you're underground. They're like, and warn everybody that this has happened to get us help. So the whole point of the game, you're like, okay, all right, I got to get to the surface, call the government, whatever I got to do, right? And then the army starts showing up, and the game didn't tell me this, but as soon as they showed up, I literally went after them. I was like, cool. Like I thought I was going to talk to them and they were going to help me. They started shooting at me, and I put together, I was like, oh fuck, they're not here to help us. They're here to kill everyone, to be like, we don't want this getting out. Okay. But they didn't tell you that. You get what I mean? I'm like, you just figured that out. I was like, dude, this is fucking awesome. Like I was like really into the fucking game. The way that you solve puzzles in rooms with the environment, I just think is so ahead of its time. And I've heard nothing but praise about the second game and how they improve on that in every aspect. So I'm really looking forward to getting to Half-Life 2. But yeah, dude, those are the type of games that get me, dude. Those are the ones that sink their teeth into me. And I'm like, I just want to keep coming back and playing this game. Like,
so a little bit off topic, but you were talking about Resident Evil, and kind of along parallel tracks of Resident Evil. a game somewhat ish recently got announced.
Silent Hill 2.
Yes, thank you. Holy shit.
I kind of read your mind.
Yeah, what a pull. Yeah, Silent Hill 2 recently got announced. I'm very excited for that. I don't know anything related to the story of the Silent Hill games. We actually recorded a little bit of Silent Hill 1. Whether it will see the light of day, who knows?
Yeah, maybe at this point we just re-record it. We've done a lot of stuff that has not seen the light of day.
No, I don't know if you saw the trailer for Silent Hill 2,
But one
but
that just recently came out.
yeah,
I did.
I mean, obviously, it looks very Resident Evil. Like, it looks like it's, built on the same engine and whatnot. I think I look at it much like the Resident Evil games, where it's just like it's a new way of giving a new audience a platform of playing these games that wasn't able to, because a lot of these games are bound to their hardware. Like, and that's stuff that's not easily available. Like, sometimes, it's like, we ported the original version of this game.
Right.
But oftentimes these ports don't see the light of day until like a remake comes out, and I really appreciate these remakes. And some of you guys can shit on remake culture because it's just milking the same cow over and over again, but I think there's something significant about giving a new audience like a way to experience these games for the first time. And plus, it has the hardcore fans that have played these games way back in the day a new way of enjoying this game that they enjoyed once upon a time.
Yeah, I mean, like a couple games I can think of where I'm like, dude, I would love for this to come back and like, have a new younger audience experience these games for the first time, is like the Dino Crisis games.
Bionicles. No.
Dude, for real. The Mask of Light. No, I'm just kidding.
When are you gonna keep it strong?
Dino Crisis, dude, which is
Totally.
a Capcom game. Capcom, what are you doing? Dude,
They might get to it with their track
fucking
record.
please, dude. It's basically literally Resident Evil, but fucking dinosaurs, dude. Like,
Capcom has had such like a roller coaster of like public opinion, where they've been like Cap gods, and then they'll be Crapcom, and then in recent years they've gone back to Cap gods.
I feel like recently they're Cap gods
'Cause,
right now.
I mean,
Street Fighter 6, Resident Evil 4
RE4,
remake.
RE2.
Dude, they're
We don't
yeah.
talk about RE3 just because that wasn't as great
Oh,
a
yeah.
game as it
Oh, yeah, dude.
originally. But I mean, they've kind of been on their good shit, and they're releasing the Capcom Fighting Collection of all the retro versus games of Marvel versus
yeah,
Capcom
that's right,
2,
that's right, I forgot about that.
X-Men versus Street Fighter.
Yeah.
Some of the I'm blanking so hard right now. I think X-Men or I think Marvel versus Marvel Superheroes is on that one as well.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm super in for it for Marvel too. That was on the Nintendo Direct, and I was worried it was just gonna be on the Switch, but it's on everything. It's on Steam. It's on PS4, Xbox, Switch.
Yeah.
My Samsung fridge.
Yeah, it feels like Doom. Like, Jesus Christ, they ported Doom on everything.
So I mean, Capcom's in a pretty good spot, and they are kind of going down the remake and re-release. So it's possible whether they tap into that IP. I'm not really sure, but I mean, it's not.
I hope so. I mean, another game that I was thinking, I was like, dude, this would be awesome for like Naughty Dog to make another. I'd love for them to make another Jak and Daxter. Pretty much make the first Jak and Daxter game, but just remake it. I feel like they could do the Resident Evil thing where it's like, let's take the idea of a platformer and let's see how we could like really reinvent that genre in the modern day. And I think that game could really be like, I think that game would be fucking awesome to be remade. Like,
it's really interesting to see, and we had a whole video about this with Sucker Punch like a while ago, which I think that video is still valuable. I rewatched that video recently, and it's still pretty good, I would say.
yeah, I like that video a lot.
I would
too.
definitely say we've gotten a lot better over time, but I still think that's like a very good video that you guys should definitely check out, where Cody he brought up in that video that it's really important to shout out the good things that your developers do, and I completely agree. Shine light on the stuff that your developer that you're talking about is doing good, but also it is very important to draw attention to the like bad business practices. And it's not that he said edgewise of that, but it's I feel like it's all too common to developers that have just kind of been going down the toilet. But there's still some shining examples. FromSoft, Capcom is kind of on the upside. That's all I can think of right now.
Naughty Dog's pretty good.
Naughty Dog.
Sony Santa Monica, God of War games. I mean, they're out there. Insomniac for the most part.
Yeah, what I was actually oh no.
You blanking?
Yeah. What I was actually getting at was motherfucker.
Id Software is another developer that's like that too. Valve's like that too. Um, I think those developers exist.
Oh, it's just that developers have strayed so
Just trying
far.
to save you.
Thank you, editor. It's just that those developers have strayed so far away from their roots where, back in the day, platformers was just the easiest thing to make, and seeing how these developers have evolved over time and just completely have gone a different direction of it's all about writing the super crazy narratives now, or with Sucker Punch as an example. I love Sly, but they've gone so far away from Sly to Infamous, which is so drastically different, and then from Infamous to Ghost of Tsushima. Like, the idea of them returning to that, would I like it? Sure, absolutely. I would love like a remaster pack of Sly, but the likelihood of it happening with the direction that they're going as a company is pretty low.
I just think we talked about it in that video too. I think there are strains of DNA in those games from those.
Oh, absolutely.
Like I was telling you, like the way that like you magnetize to the parkour system in Ghost of Tsushima is very similar to what you do in Infamous, and which is very similar to what you do in Sly. So like that is something that is very much attached to all of their games. But you're right in the aspect where it's like you play Ghost of Tsushima, it's a fucking, feudal Japan samurai game compared to a fucking game about a goddamn raccoon. Like, there's a fucking huge difference here in theme and all that. Like, so yeah, I think it would be kind of hard for that developer because it was like a humble beginnings kind of thing where it's like, well, we've grown so much. How would we even go back to a game with an idea that's that simple?
Which I feel like as gamers, we've kind of had like a lapse as far as the graphical importance is considered. Back in the way before 4 times, when dinosaurs existed, like it was like, oh my god, this game looks so amazing, and there's hints of that. I won't say that like a good looking game doesn't have an effect on me. Like I said a billion times of how good Demon Souls looked when I played it.
Yeah.
But I feel like I care so little about how a game looks at this point where, if you chose, I would almost prefer it if you chose to give me like a very stylized, cartoony looking, like, cell shaded, versus like, oh, like here's the billionth hyper realistic game that we've developed today, because it kind of loses some of that. I mean, once again, it's the charm factor of like, oh, okay, this is an actual art style of like, oh, this entire game's graffiti style. I'm like, oh, I would love that. I care so little about it. It's like, oh yeah, fucking 2 billion FPS, ray tracing, lens flares, Michael Bay.
Yeah, no, I
and
hear
I'm
what
just
you're
like,
saying.
dude,
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck. I'm like, oh, okay, give me a game that looks good enough, and a stylization or an art style is going to have a game age gracefully as well. And we've been realizing that with the PS2. But as long as you give me a good game at the end of the day where the mechanics and the game feels good to play, that's the thing I care most about more than anything. And games that are actually just games, like not like a fucking, not that I can't appreciate the walking simulator that is the game that I want to play. I can never remember the name of it when I want to.
Death Stranding.
Thank you. Not that I don't want to play that. I very much do.
Just to kind of add on a little, I think what we're trying to say, I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Please do. Put something in my mouth.
But I just feel like it's okay for games to be like that. It's just that when everybody goes, look what they're doing, and then we start following that, and then everything becomes that, then you kind of lose what made games great to begin with. Just to kind of, kind of go against what I was saying, my favorite video game of all time is Red Dead Redemption 2. That's a huge narrative-driven game, okay? Love the characters. I love the story. That kind of does everything that we're talking about that the industry is doing today. Where I think that game separates itself from the others is that the way that game immerses you in its gameplay is unlike any other experience I've ever had. Other games will try to do this and this and be real flashy, right, to get your attention. Red Dead 2 pulls back on the reins, no pun intended, to honestly help you get more immersed in what you're doing. It's slower. Everything you do is a little slower, but it makes you feel like you're actually the character. And I know that's such a fucking trend for everyone to say, like, you feel like fucking Batman. You feel like Spider-Man when you play this game. It's true, though. Like, in that game, you really feel like you're living and breathing in the 1800s. You're like, this is a state of America that we will never see again. And this is like the one way that I can experience how life was back in those days. And it's like you're viewing through a glass lens of what the country used to be. And that's so cool. It's like a history lesson without having to read a book about what happened. You get to experience what happened. And I think that's such a cool way for young audiences to have a better grasp on history during certain time periods. That's the one thing I will give praise to the Assassin's Creed games. It's like, yeah, is there a little bit of fucking fiction and bullshit that's involved in those stories? Sure. But the time periods that they're set in, really cool to bring in actual pieces of history, actual characters from that time period, to have kids go like, oh yeah, I know who Leonardo da Vinci is. He was in Assassin's Creed 2. He made all these inventions. Because I remember doing that in school. I remember playing Assassin's Creed 2 and learning about the Renaissance era and bringing that to my history teacher. And they're like, wow, like that's crazy. Like my teacher was now curious about this game because I, as a student, was legitimately learning about that period from a video game. That is fucking awesome in my opinion, you know?
Which I actually do want to play the Ezio trilogy on the channel at some point. It's far from a rush, but that would be something I would like to do. I don't care about Black Flag. I don't care about Unity, but
yeah. But let me just put a bow on that thought real quick. Sorry. But going back to the Red Dead 2 thing. So I think the narrative is fantastic on that, and it's done right. I just don't want every video game to try to be the next Red Dead 2. Red Dead 2 did something that separated itself, and I just hate it when the music industry does it, the film industry does it. One thing succeeds, everyone follows that. Instead of going, why did that thing succeed? Is it because that it's super unique and it stands out from everything else? Like, there you go. Like, make something different and people will either gravitate to it or they won't, you know? So I feel like, you know, as great as that game is, maybe kind of go back to the drawing board and figure out what it is gameplay wise that got people to buy the console to begin with.
So I'm going to say something that just sounds so counterintuitive and that likely no one but me would agree on at this point. And it's not a take. It's just something I would want and would be willing to give a try as a game. And maybe it already exists. If it does, let me know. I want a JRPG life simulator. Now I'm going to explain what that means.
Okay.
I want a mundane game where you are working a 9 to 5, where you have a very depressive life, and you go to work, you get home. That's how it starts. I know this already sounds weird. And it's a bit meta in that way. But I want you as a character to have a very depressive life and have like escapisms, like video games, like your favorite ramen spot or whatever the case may be. And I want through the course of that RPG for you to turn your life around and make better choices, or maybe not make better choices as well. It depends on how you want to live your life. And see if you can turn your life around for the better. Maybe there's a dating aspect where you can get a girlfriend, or, you know, maybe you can have some quest events with your best friend where you just go out and you find the meaning of life in this game, and then that reflects on reality as well.
That's a really cool idea, man. That's a really cool idea for a game, actually.
I'm gonna start crying,
dude, because honestly, that's like, you learn a lot from that. I would be really open to an idea like that if it was almost designed like a JRPG, but also designed like almost like a Telltale game, or almost like a Heavy Rain style, where it's like choices you make, things that you say, things that you do.
Trickle effect.
Right. Where there's like 50 different fucking endings, right? But that would be really cool to bring that to like almost like a day-to-day life experience, because people that are stuck in ruts, or people that, you know, can't seem to dig themselves out of like the mundane, or try to get their life together, or try to, you know, there's some people that are, you know, really struggling in life and can't seem to get on their own feet and get even their own place to live. You know, I understand that. I've been in that spot personally. So I totally get it, you know? I think that would be really cool for people like that, because everyone kind of has to figure out how to get themselves out of that situation on their own. And some people figure it out, some people don't. So I think that's a brilliant idea, dude. For a game to be able to like almost steer you in the right direction by the choices you make, I think that's actually a great idea, dude. Genuinely, that's wow.
And I think there should be actual games within the game. So like I think if you as your main character decides to boot up your smartphone and play a mobile game, I think there should actually be a mobile game in there. I think if you want to play on the console, I think there should be something that resembles the console. Like give your character and also you a sense of escapism while you're choosing to indulge in this thing. But also like, it's because I've been
No, I was just thinking like it'd be funny if like you had an experience with that game and I had an experience. You're like, dude, I got my guy life. He's fucking got his life together. He's fit and shit. Be like, dude, my guy's 300 pounds overweight. He's addicted to Angry Birds.
I am a sumo wrestler. But yeah,
dude,
it's
like
a
my
choice.
guy's a piece of shit. Like,
And I'm sure that would take a lot of work, and I'm sure it'd be a super niche audience. But I think a game like that would be very valuable.
no, legitimately, yeah, I think that's a great idea, dude.
But part of it is I've been reflecting on my own life and mortality, and have been wanting to consciously make better decisions. And I kind of had a domino effect, and that's kind of what led me onto that line of thinking at all. And, I hear people wildly addicted to smartphone games, spending thousands upon thousands of dollars. And I've been reflecting on, like, wanting to enjoy more of my life, wanting to go out more, wanting to go skate tomorrow. I don't know if I will because there's cleaning and stuff to do, but I'm definitely going to skate this weekend and just, enjoy this thing called life. I still enjoy video games and stuff like that. I will likely enjoy video games for the rest of my life, but, I want to there's plenty of things I want to get better at. I want to get better at cooking. I want to work on my art. I want to get better at skating, golfing. I want to enjoy these little moments with my friends. And, life is too precious. And I think a tool to help you appreciate something like that is just really important.
I agree completely. Well said. Well said.
I think it's also, as far as like changing your life around, I think because like making big habits, like, going to the gym more, and like, I also think you have to enforce the small habits as well to have like an overall impact. So being a little bit more cleanly, like I can afford to be a little bit more cleanly.
Me too.
Like, is my room atrocious? No. Like I've seen way worse rooms, but like, pick up the clothes that I throw on the ground, do like fold and put away my laundry a bit more consistently. Like little changes are the foundation to support the big changes in your life.
Exactly. That's well put. I kind of want to bounce off what you're saying.
Please.
I think I completely relate to what you're saying. I think, sometimes we tend to overcomplicate things in our lives and we make the picture a lot bigger than it needs to be. So I tend to do this from time to time. I don't think everybody does this, but sometimes I feel like us as adults, we can overcomplicate our lives with a lot of things that we have no control over. And so I feel like a lot of people can feel a lot of pressure and a lot of expectations on themselves. They put a lot of expectations on themselves that, can weigh on your mind a lot. Like, I'm not doing this thing. I'm not getting here. I am not doing life right, and a lot of those problems can be solved. I'm 27. I'm not going to sit here and talk like I'm 70-year-old man that's got all the life experience. But if there's anything I've learned so far through life is that a lot of those issues that you have can really be solved at the simplest form. I tell a lot of people this that struggle. I think it really just starts with like, just get up and clean your room.
Absolutely.
A clean room is a clean mind, and the little gratification, like, does it suck? Like if you look at something and you look at your room, you're like, fuck, I got clothes everywhere. Like, I haven't done laundry in 2 weeks. Like there's fucking shit everywhere. There's trash. I've fucking DoorDash like 8 meals. I'm guilty of this. Okay. Like I'm saying this as someone from experience. I'm not saying I'm perfect at all. Like I am a victim of that. But whenever I notice that about myself or I notice that about my room, I'm like, okay,
nothing can change.
I just look at that and I go, okay, like, is it going to suck to do? Sure. But the feeling that you'll have, even if it's very small, the feeling that you'll have after it's done, where you just kind of, all right, I did it. I cleaned my room. I made my bed. It looks nice in here. You're kind of subconsciously telling yourself, you're like, I'm taking care of you. That's what you're doing. And it starts with something as small as that, because then it's a trickle effect on everything else that you do in your life, whether it be the job that you're trying to get, or a promotion, or how you interact with other people. And, like, you start to become more confident in yourself. You go like, okay, I'm going to go to the gym and start eating better, going to the gym. I'm going to start doing this. It starts with something as simple as like the room, because you're subconsciously telling yourself, I need to take care of me. Yeah. And that's something I think a lot of people struggle with, including myself, where it's like, I spend so much time making sure everyone else is good that when you go back to your room, it's just you. And that's where it starts. You also take the time to take care of yourself. You can't take care of anybody else in your life if you can't take care of you. And so that, I think a lot of people struggle with that. And I think it really just comes down to something as simple as that. Like, just going full circle on what I was saying, I just think people put a lot of expectations on themselves. Everybody's going through life the same way. No one knows what the fuck they're really doing. People may say they know what they're doing, or, they'll be like, oh yeah, I've got a handle on life. Even people that have fucking, loads of money. The problems don't change. There's more zeros on the end. That's literally it. It doesn't matter how much, if you have fucking $20 in your account, you have $2 million in your account, there's still problems that everyone has in their life. And it really just comes down to those fundamentals. I know they got real fucking deep.
That's true. You can't like buy your way out of a fundamental problem with you as a person. You can put a band-aid over it. Like, not being able to cook is a great example. Like, can I cook a little bit? Yes.
I can't cook for shit. That's something I need to work on.
Yeah, we can work on that at any time, which is great. But just because you hire a maid doesn't mean you know how to cook now. Right. Like, what happens? Right. What happens if you're stranded? Like, how far is your money going to get you? So I'm actually going to, the reason I started this line of thinking a little bit, and like, I think like this every once in a while, where I'll just go through like a mental rabbit hole of like, oh, okay, it's time to change my life around. January 1st, let's hit the gym. That's not me. I know that's another people. That's just an example. But I was watching a podcast that I sent to you of Asmongold going through like online therapy with like this therapy YouTuber or whatever.
Yeah.
And, he was saying to Asmongold that, like talking about his like laziness or whatever is just like, essentially the theme of it was like, do you need to do this? So like Asmongold's teeth is like really fucked up.
Sure.
And it's just like, he's like, oh, I need to get my teeth fixed. And then all the therapist was saying, I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of the therapist, was like, but do you though? And like what that means is like, have you as an individual made up your mind that enough is enough? And that like, and my mom says this all the time, and I fucking hate this saying at this point, but it's true. Are you sick and tired of being sick and tired? You will decide when it's fundamentally time to make a change. And like, humans are naturally like pretty efficient, or like pretty good at ignoring problems. Like, if you want to put up with something as a human, like, you will naturally adapt to whatever it is that you want to put up and ignore with.
I related to that for a long time. When my late teens and early 20s, I have a lot of dental issues, right? I'm sure a lot of people do out there that, dental shit's expensive. It's hard.
I drink 1 to 3 energy drinks a day, so
but it's expensive. It's
oh yeah. It's scary.
It is a journey to get that taken care of. And I'm on that journey. I've been taking care of my teeth. I have a dentist appointment. On the beginning of September, I have to get a tooth removed, and then I get my Invisalign to get that straightened up. Now, but so that, like, I'm on track for that. And that's not a brag. The reason I'm bringing that up is because there was a time when I was 18, 19, I've always had teeth issues, where I kept saying that to myself. I'm like, I got to do this. I got to do that. I need to get glasses. I need to get this. I need to start working out. I need to do this. I need to do that. And for years, I kept saying that. And then I'd come up with excuses of why I couldn't do it. Be like, well, I need to save my money and use my money on this. And it's like, you keep spending your money on other people and other things. And, you think that is what you need to do to keep you going through life. And then I just kind of woke up one day and I was just like, Cody, you got to, I'm at an age now Or if I don't start taking care of myself, I'm going to start to deteriorate. You know, I know this is getting really morbid, but I'm getting to a point here. Not that I'm fucking old or I'm a fossil or anything like that. It's just that I kind of had an epiphany, so to speak, of like, okay, it's time to start taking care of yourself. You keep saying you're going to do it, but it's like you said, it's like, what was the point where it's like enough is enough? Are we actually going to fucking get this shit going? Or like, are you just going to let your teeth rot out of your head? Like what? So I looked at it, and some people were comfortable with that, but I had to look at myself in the mirror one day, and I was like, this is what I want to do. It'll make me feel better. And it does make me feel better. It makes me feel more confident that I can actually smile with a full smile and not feel like I have to like be subconsciously like insecure about how I look. You know, I want to feel good about how I look. I want to be myself around people without thinking like, fuck, my teeth are fucked up, or like, shit, like I don't look good. Like, and it's like, okay, if you want those changes to happen, you got to fucking put in the work and do it. You know, like I have to start taking care of myself to make that happen. That's just for me.
Something beautiful that the therapist brought up with Asmongold was, you know, you are like a best friend to everyone in your chat.
Mm-hmm.
So by you pushing off the things that you feel you need to do and saying that you don't need to do them right now,
right?
It's the excuse that they, as your friends, need to do the exact same thing. It's pretty much leading by example. Just like, oh, hey, you know, because you're getting the thing that you need to get done out of the way, you know, that's going to make your audience feel compelled to do the very same.
Sure.
And, you know, I've said this a billion times too. Everyone is just that one thing away from doing what they need to do. And it's perpetual. Like I always use streaming as an example, but you know, for you at home or for you or for even myself, you know, there's always that one thing is like, oh, you know, streaming, for instance, is like, you know, I'm going to start streaming any day now. I just need to get a new camera. But then you get that new camera and then it's like, you know, well, got to get these posters. And then, okay, you got the posters. What now? It's like, you know, my lighting situation's like, just do it.
There's always something telling you why you can't do it.
Exactly. Like it's going to start terribly and it's going to be in shambles, but you'll figure it out in time. Like, you know, and streaming is a great example. And, you know, honestly, kind of a little bit of context for what we're going to be doing tomorrow because, you know, we have some recording that's going to be coming to you tomorrow. We're going to have our very first guest on the channel. Big shout outs to our homie David. I'll link him in the description of this video and obviously every video that he's going to be in. But we wanted to bring him on the channel, and I'll mention this when we're recording, is because he's doing the thing and I have unlimited appreciation for it. Is he like bumbling around trying to figure it out? Yeah, probably. He's probably
like, bumbling around trying to figure out. I mean,
no, absolutely. But
you know, like,
he's doing the thing. I've had so many friends and people, and not even just with streaming, but just like
give up on themselves.
Exactly. Or just like, you know, not even give up and not even start.
Right. They don't even have like
How many times have I heard like, oh yeah, I think I'm gonna start streaming. I'm like, yeah, bro, go for it. Like, hell yeah, put yourself out there. I'm sure you have a lot of valuable things to bring to the table, and I value your perspective as a human. And then they just don't do it. I mean, that was pretty much a wrapped up thought of like everyone's pretty much one perpetual thing away from doing what they say they want to do more than anything. And I just wanted to show some appreciation for the homie David for actually getting off his ass and doing the thing. Like, you know, no one's. And I've been having to say this one a lot. No one's going to put in the work for you. So maybe for you, no one's going to go to the gym for you. For me, no one's going to edit the videos for me.
Right.
No one's going to like do my writing for me or go skating for me. No one's going to put in the work. And that's the same for you guys too. Like no one's going to go to the gym on January 1st for you, even as much of a meme as it is. But, you know, you need to take the first steps to make those habits.
I want to make a point too for people that, you know, are kind of in the same boat as us where you have something that you're passionate about. I want to make it apparent to people where it's like, there's been times that I felt this way and I have to kind of, you know, be hard enough on yourself to where you're on yourself to keep doing the thing that you want to do, but also give yourself a little bit of leeway because there are days and sometimes even weeks where you just fall off and you're like, fuck, like shit happens. Life gets in the way from doing the things that you know you're supposed to do. You know, don't let yourself fall off the tracks, but, you know, give yourself a little bit, like, don't be so hard on yourself when that, you know, like when you can't do something right then and there, because life does get in the way. You know, I have to kind of like tell myself that, like, I was sick for like fucking 5 days. And let me tell you, being in that bed, I was like, dude, I like was beating myself up. Like I should be fucking back home. I should be recording. Like I happened to be visiting my mom, and I got sick while I was there. And I just had a lot of shit going on, like not to get super personal, but I just had a lot of shit going on in my life, a lot of things happening at work that I was really bothering me. And, you know, it was affecting me when I'd come home from work and my mood, and it just fucking sent me over the edge. And I know myself well enough now to where when something like that happens, I need like a mental reset, just whether it be a long drive or a couple days, you know, away with some family or something, just something to kind of get me back on track. And it just so happened that when I did that, I also got sick. So it just kind of was like a double whammy, you know. I mean, you know, sometimes life does that, and it sucks, but you got to give yourself a little bit more credit. When things like that happen, just do the best that you can to push through it. And, you know, as long as you've got that little voice in your head saying like, okay, once we get a little bit better, or once we've got this situated, we're back on fucking track. Do or do not, there is no try, dude.
Almost contrarian to that would be like, dude, burnout is a massive thing. Like I experienced it somewhat recently with fighting games.
Oh, yeah.
Like I was going so hard on the fighting game content and just like, you know, trying to do the YouTuber thing, and then I just took a step back because I was fucking exhausted. Like, you know, in a way I'm still exhausted, but you know, I like regret is a thing. So it's just like, okay, you know, there's a constant question of like, did I give it my best? Did I really do everything I could have to like, you know, let's say I'm putting out a video. Did I do everything I could have to put out the best product possible? Did I really bring my like A game energy, or like, you know, the best representation of myself? But, you know, with that, you know, that's probably the quickest way to get exhausted. But with YouTube, and especially with being like a smaller content creator, you really do need to like kind of put in that extra little bit of work to differentiate yourself and like stand out. Like, honestly, big respect to you guys at home because of the support that you've given us. Like,
dude, for real, holy shit, we did not expect. We've said it so many times, but like we do not expect even fucking 2 people to be watching the shit.
We
It's
are
fucking
literally just doing the thing that I don't want to do on my own channel, which is Let's Play stuff. But you guys really vibe with just our conversations with each other, and you know, I vibe with our conversations with each other.
For real, for real. Uh-oh.
I've come back a little bit from my hiatus on like the fighting game content, but when I came back, I was kind of doing everything of the antithesis of what I don't want to be doing, which is like, okay, like I'm recording literally everything. I'm like, no, like you told yourself once upon a time, don't do that, because like then, which is more to the reason why I started streaming more, of just like, oh, hey, just let yourself enjoy a game. Not everything has to be recorded. You
Sure.
can stream if you want to, but just enjoy the game for what it is. You don't have to make a video on literally everything. And like, you know, there wasn't a delineation between what was me time and what was like YouTube work stuff. And I wanted to kind of take a step back. So I'm still doing the Jedi Fallen Order playthrough, but I'm just not editing it.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna throw it up raw. If it gets views, great. If not, I don't care. Like the only reason it's going up on the channel to begin with is because it's a Souls-like.
Yeah.
And I just appreciate having those on the channel. I'm going to continue to edit Elden Ring in my playthrough of that, because there's a way I want to present that footage. But, you know, it's like Ultimate Spider-Man doesn't need to go up on my channel. And if I do want to do something with that, it should be like a retrospective and like a well thought out video. Yeah. So I'm just like reevaluating my like assets and resources, and just trying to like pool resources to, one, be more beneficial to me, but I also want to have, you know, the videos that go up on my main channel be more quality, but also like I like want to shift that focus of just pumping stuff out. Not that I want to just pump out stuff on here, but to DualShock, because I think we have a lot of potential and something special here that just needs a bit of nurturing. And you know, on the content front, you know, like I said, we're essentially just bringing you guys Let's Play stuff, which is the opposite of what I want on my own channel.
And also like the opposite of what happens to be trending in today's, you know,
Very
social
weird
media, you know, currency of things that are popular, you know. It's
Very
like,
bizarre. And we appreciate that you guys vibe with us the way that you do, just with what we're presenting to you. But also, you know, there's going to be some other stuff that we bring you guys very soon without going into spoilers. You know, we're going to do some recording with our friend David, but also I'm going to be picking up some lav mics very soon here. And yeah, we're going to get into a little bit of content experimentation, which you guys aren't going to lose any of like the Let's Play stuff. If that's stuff that you very much vibe with. It's just we're going to do some extracurricular stuff on the side. And we hope that when we bring that stuff to you guys that you like it, because you don't have to worry about us not being authentic. That's what our channel is based upon. It's just the authenticity between me and this guy.
100%. Yeah. I mean, fuck. I promise you, there's no script near this camera. Like, dude. Like, honestly, this is all just off the cuff. Like everything else that we do, and it really still baffles me that anybody fucking listens to this shit. It's fucking...
It baffles me that we haven't run out of things to talk about.
Holy fuck, dude. It seems like every time we talk, it's something new, and I'm sure the next time we do this, there'll be even more shit to talk about.
Oh,
but
brother.
fuck,
and we really haven't got, like, topical at all. Like, we've just been, like, general, like, shit, like, shooting the shit, and we haven't really, like, honed in on, like, all right, for today's video, we're talking exclusively about the Trump election or something.
Right.
Trump election is a terrible example, but, you know, something that could be going on in the game space.
Yeah, I think we just kind of riff off of whatever we feel like talking about in the moment. Genuinely. Like, it's never like, let's talk about the new fucking Big Mac. Like, okay, we're talking about that for 30. No, it's like...
You know they brought back the McRib?
I actually have some complaints about the Big Mac.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious.
Are you...
I ordered a Big Mac last night. That shit was tiny.
The not so Big Mac.
Dude, yeah, it was literally the size of... Anyway.
Oh, yeah, you're paying more for less.
Yeah, I noticed that last night. I was like, motherfuckers, they're cheaping us, dude.
The value of the dollar has gone down so dramatically.
Fucking Big Mac was so small, dude. Sorry. I was the whole thing. That's the point of this channel.
I ordered Chipotle
just goes off the rails
somewhat
sometimes.
recently, bro. I ordered Chipotle, and dude, definitely a stoner was working because he loaded my shit up.
Dude, Chipotle?
I love Chipotle.
That shit fucking hits, dude. I fucking love Chipotle, dude. Sometimes it's a curse. Like, fuck, dude.
Well, let me tell you, honestly, but all the more reason why I've kind of thought more on, especially my dietary habits. One, eating healthy is expensive. I get that. But, you know, I'm sure there's a very much more efficient way of doing so that's a lot more sustainable. And, you know, once again, just doing right by you as a human, like, you know, is Chipotle great in the moment, but I spent 20 fucking bucks to DoorDash this one burrito, which it was great. It hit in the moment. I'll probably be full for the rest of the day. But I probably could have made 6 meals with like rice and chicken and whatever.
Yeah,
and
I've been even thinking about it. I'm like, dude, might just be worth it to invest in like a Costco membership at this point and just bulk up groceries like that. And I'm honestly thinking about it. I was like, I might start doing that and then just start YouTubing ways to cook. But the thing is like,
this is a video idea that I'm going to do in the near future, but I'm going to buy Cooking Mama and I'm just going to follow the recipe IRL.
I was thinking about also doing like HelloFresh. I just don't know how expensive that is, but that's a good way for me to learn how to cook. I'm like,
maybe so, but I mean, trial by fire, my friend. Like that's how that's how I learned.
I don't want to get into it, but I've told you this privately, but I've had some experiences with cooking in the past that really like kind of
sit well.
Yeah, it just makes me like, I don't know. It makes me want to avoid the kitchen. Not that I like hate cooking. I think cooking's fucking dope. Like, especially a well-cooked meal is fucking awesome. I will say that just to kind of get out of my comfort zone with that, last time we had a barbecue, it was kind of on the spot because no one was willing to do it. I did barbecue food for my entire family. I barbecued 2 steaks. I barbecued some potatoes and corn. All of it turned out great.
I'm gonna out my mom right now because
I was like really sorry, but I was like really insecure about that. I kept going like, hey, like, how's the steak? Like, how's the, you know, I was asking. They're like, dude, this is fucking awesome. Like my brother, his girlfriend, my mom, my other brother, they all tried it and they were like, this is great. Like, this turned out awesome. And I was like, dude, let's fucking go. Like, that was kind of a W for your boy. I'm not a huge cook at all, so like, I was like super proud of that. So
I'm gonna out my mom here a little bit because my oldest brother calls himself the grill master. and every time he comes over to my parents' house, you know, he boots up the grill. He gets the Xbox and then the grill starts. And he grills for, his wife and kids, and yeah, when he comes over, he tends to the grill. And he always asks everyone, he's like, oh yeah, how's the chicken? Like, I hope the chicken's bomb, and like this, that, and the third. There's how's the tri-tip?
Right, right.
And then one of the last times he bounced, uh we somehow, me and my mom were just like riffing off, and dude, me and my mom, big podcast when we talk, we somehow got on the topic of my brother's grilling, and then my mom was like, oh my god, he makes everything so dry, it's overcooked every time. And just fucking lays into him, and he's like, he has a very fragile ego when it comes to these certain things. I'm just like, well, I don't think how he cooks things is bad. It's like, I like my shit, like, if I have a steak, I like mine like medium medium, probably medium, I would say.
Yeah.
And when he cooks stuff, it is definitely done. It's not burnt, but there's no.
I get you. There's no pink.
No, it's done.
It was crazy. I was worried about that. I like my stuff like medium to medium rare, somewhere in that sweet spot. And when I cooked,
anything from medium rare to medium well.
Yeah, and I mean it was kind of somewhere around there. There's a little bit of pink.
Perfect.
It was turned out like I was shocked. I honestly thought I'm gonna fuck up these tri-tip steaks. I was like so concerned about it. I was like down in beers low key because I was just honestly.
Dude, you splash a little beer on the steaks.
That's not a bad idea, but
it's a great idea.
I was playing like some old 70s music, and I was just sitting outside enjoying the sunset and drinking a couple beers. But I was just like, I'm such a fucking bitch. I was just kind of like really anxious about it, to be completely honest with you. I was like, I'm gonna fuck up this food. I started down beers. It's like, dude, I was like, everyone's gonna be like, thanks. And it's gonna be like the potatoes are black. Like I was like really tripping about it, and it turned out good. I was like, holy shit, like. And I told all of them, I was like, listen, I was like, it's not going to offend me. I was like, I would rather know that the food's bad so I can try to do better next time. They're like, no, it was genuinely good. So I was like, thank fuck.
Bro, throw a little corn on there. That's not hard to do either.
No, the corn was the easiest part.
Oh, you did actually make corn.
I did corn, and I did potatoes in like tin foil. And like I sliced them up and everything, put them in there and put like butter in there and let them. I was a little worried about because I would like open it up and check to make sure the potatoes weren't too hard.
Potatoes can be a little tough.
And they turned out good. So I was like, fuck, dude. Like, and that's a big step for me, like for cooking. I've never been a cook. My dad was always the fucking master chef of the house, so I was like, fuck, I guess I'll fucking.
I mean, it's just one of those things where, like, cooking for you is just like, let's just say an insecurity, for lack of a better word.
Oh, yeah,
because
it definitely is.
And it's just like, at some point, like, the best thing, I had to get over that with my ex, and it was really just trial by fire. It's like I wanted to do something nice for her.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, hey, let me cook tonight. I got this. Like, tell me if it's shit. I'm sorry. And then, but no, like it just, it's not that I'm a natural for cooking because I don't do anything complicated, but. In fact, she said I was guilty of trying to do too much with what was going on. It's like, not everything needs to be like spiced up or whatever. I'm just like, oh, well, fuck you. Okay.
Yeah. It's just not to get too into it, but like the experience I had was like I was trying to learn, and they would just get frustrated and be like, just get the fuck out of the kitchen kind of thing. And, it just made me go like, all right, well, I guess I just will stay out of the kitchen. And,
well, I mean, for me, like,
felt like I was a burden, and then like, if I fucked something up on, like, say we were doing a meal and there was like 3 things in the meal, right? It'd be like rice and then this and then that, like stir fry or whatever. I would fuck up the one thing that I was in charge of or whatever. And I was like, I'm trying my absolute best. And then I'd, be made to feel like shit for, wasting the money, as they would say, or
be like, nah, bitch, I'm still going to eat this shit.
I mean, I would still eat it, but it was just like, I was just like, fuck, like, I don't want to fucking do it now because I am wasting the fucking money that we just spent on this shit, or we just bought the ingredients for this or whatever. And I fucked it up because I'm not good with the timing on like how much, the stove settings on how hot it should be. Like, I don't know. I know I'm being fucking ridiculous about it. I get it. And
for me,
it's just, I'm trying to be better about it.
Well, like, okay, and I've said this before, if you want to cook with me, you're more than welcome to. I don't do anything fancy. I don't do anything fancy. I could do some like slightly more extravagant stuff, but I like, as a guy, I just need very simple things for sustenance, and I don't care. Like, is good food really good? Yes, absolutely, but I don't need that. I'm just like, dude, if you serve me potatoes and meat and had some seasoning on there and some cheese, I'll eat the shit out of that.
I think what I'll do, just to kind of, because the more I'm thinking about it, I'm like, okay, I'm sure I can figure out a way to like get a little bit better at this without like feeling too shitty about it if it goes wrong. So what I think I'll do is I'll try like HelloFresh maybe for like a month or two, just to kind of have something to baseline off of, start a big meal. And then what I'll do is like on my own time, because our days don't always line up, I'll make a meal. If I eat some of it and I'm like, this is hella good, I'll offer some to you and be like, okay, honestly, what do you think of this? And then if you're like, oh yeah, that actually turned out pretty good, or oh, that turned out, it's like, oh, you could have cooked this a little longer or done this, la da da. Then, as opposed to like on the spot, trying it, and then it's just like, dude, what happened in the kitchen? Like,
as your friend,
did you set this shit on fire? Like,
I'm not shitting with you.
Oh fuck.
As your friend,
Yeah.
you can offer me literally anything, and if it's not good, I will be straight up with you. But also,
no, I believe that. I just don't want to like burden that onto you, where now we're forced to eat it because even though it's bad, like I'll force myself to eat it is what I'm getting at.
In fact, it's the exact opposite. So like if you're learning how to make something, and you and I eat it, and even if it's garbage, it didn't turn out good, it's not a waste because we ate it. And it's not a waste because you're learning a skill. That's how I look at it.
I see how you're looking at it, but you get where I'm looking at it.
Yeah, like, in fact, like, I'll appreciate your effort of like, hey, sure, you tried to like,
dude, I don't think that it's like a thing where it's like, I don't think that you're not thinking that way. It's just in my head, I'm like, he's being nice.
I just want to share my like perspective on it. If you came up to me as like, oh, hey, I made this, like, if you can eat it, go for it. If not, like, no worries at all. I'm just like, oh yeah, like, will I try to eat it anyways? Yeah, probably, but I'll be earnest with you about like the quality of it.
Yeah.
And
I believe you.
I am a really good test subject because I'm not a picky eater at all. Like, there's very few things that I'll like turn my nose up at, which one of them is herring, which is fermented fish. If you don't know, my brother loves it. He's a weirdo.
Herring?
Yeah, it's pickled fish. It's sour and it's gross.
What the? I've never even fucking heard of that.
You have, because you played Call of Duty. And the Black Ops Zombies, where Richtofen was like, tastes like fermented herring and cat piss. You know that line?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never really thought about it until you just said that, but yeah, I've heard that line. But I've never
tried it. It's gross.
The food. I don't even know what it fucking looks like.
It's just like yellow fish that's just been sitting in something. I don't fucking know what it's sitting in. But my brother likes it. I don't. I gave it a fair try. I'd like to try anchovies. There's plenty of things I'd like to try. I'll try any food just about at least once. I'll try escargot. I'll probably hate it, but I'm open to it. With that said, though, this is going to be an offshoot because I did want to get your 2 cents on this because I asked. I was talking to a friend about a specific video that I made recently, and it was based off of something in the fighting game community called Tatsugate, and I'll explain what that means. The whole premise of it is evaluating, so, for fighting games, but this could be, applied to a number of games and things in general. But let's say you do something and you make a decision and it's the wrong decision, but it works out and you get the victory. How much do you care about analyzing after the fact? Was the thing that I did wrong, or does it matter because I got the win anyways?
Interesting to think about.
Where do you sit on that fence? I feel like because I don't see you take a lot of games like very seriously other than COD, and you haven't sat on that COD train in a little while, where I feel like you're a guy that's like, hey, I got to win. It's not a big deal, because I've never seen you get into the competitive side of games like that hardcore.
It's very true, actually. It's funny you bring that up because I was thinking about that exact thing the other day. I was thinking because they just added Valorant to console, which I was like, oh, that's cool for people who don't have PC. But I was like, I'd much rather play that game on mouse and keyboard. But I was just kind of like circling through, my games and what's currently out, and just seeing what's going on in the store. But I was thinking about that. I was like, even like Counter-Strike. I was just like, I was like, I don't really have Like Call of Duty was kind of that game for me for a long time,
And
but
that's
that game's
okay.
just not consistent enough for me to really stick with it as much as I want it to
Time to
be.
play fighting games, baby.
But I was like, I was thinking, I was like, well, I gotta find. I was like, I think having at least one game that I can get like competitive about, that I can get kind of serious about, would be good for me to kind of have that aspect to let before you fucking get on there. But no, I was thinking about, because yeah, I mean, my perspective on video games has always been the same since I was a kid. It's just more of like escapism, immersion, just kind of like getting really into the game. I'm more into single player games. I'm more into just like seeing what the game's got to offer in level design and gameplay. It's a lot more of that than it is like, okay, having the same levels, but like the interesting aspect is the opponent, you know. Not that I don't have fun with multiplayer games, I do. It's just I feel like I've played so many different multiplayer games that I'm like decent at all of them, that but great at none of them. And we talked about that a little bit with just everything. I mean, I feel like about that with myself on a lot of things. I feel like I'm decent to good at a lot of things. I feel like the one thing that I really focus a lot of my time on, which I think you already know what I'm going to say, is music. Now, music is subjective. If you think my music's shit, that's totally fair. I'm just saying that like out of
The most
skill,
advanced. That's like
yeah,
clear.
like as far as just skill and just like doing the thing, you know, I feel like that's the thing that I'm great at. But it would be nice to kind of pick up something where I'm just like, I'm going to hone in on this and just hyper focus on getting good at that. And I've been thinking about it, and that's why it's funny you bring that up. I was like, maybe that game will be Valorant, or maybe that game will be Counter-Strike. Only reason I say that is because I'm already pretty passionate about the single player games with that speed, like Quake or like Half-Life, which is literally what Counter-Strike is built upon, is the source engine that built Half-Life 2. So it's like, I'm already there. I'm already halfway there, like playing the single player games. Why not just, you know, like I'm already enjoying how that game feels. Why not, you know, take it the step further and get into that on a competitive level and really try to be like, let's see if we can get good at Counter-Strike. Not that Counter-Strike is insanely popular or anything like that, but, you know, just I think that might be the game that I would be like, okay, I can get decent at this. Like,
Yeah, I mean, for myself, I have, and I think Kanye said this, unfortunately. No one's gonna believe in yourself like you can. And like for me, he said something along parallel tracks of that. I believe in myself more than anyone else possibly could be. I want to be the people. I want to be the thing that how do I put this? I want to be as awesome as my friends think I am. Not that every one of my friends has me in like the highest regard, or I don't know the deepest thoughts of what my friends actually think of me. I believe in myself and my capabilities to get to these high levels, to these things, if I dedicate like this time. Like I believe I have a talent and a knack for these things somewhat naturally, and I believe I have the stick-to-itiveness to get to that level if I have the desire. So like, you know, I'm a speedrunner. I have a sub 10-minute run of Jump King, which was my goal for that game. I could, if I grinded that game out, I think I could probably crack top 100 realistically, because I believe in myself that much to get to that level. I am a speedrunner of Dark Souls, the best in the world, not even close. Like I had a sub 1 hour run of Dark Souls, and that was my goal for that game. I can achieve goals that I set for myself. I've gotten very good at certain fighting games. Like I'm Diamond in Street Fighter, which, you know, is it that amazing in the grand scope of things? But no, but I believe I could get to master level, which once again isn't that amazing, or it's not that significant, but in the grand scope of things, it is. I'm the top 10% in the world for Dragon Ball Fighters. I think I can get to that level in these things, and I can become hyper proficient, and I believe that's true for a lot of people. I think if they, and a lot of, once again, it's, you're always that one thing away from starting your journey and becoming hyper proficient in this thing. And I've said to, you know, friends that, you know, I'm the fighting game guy for a lot of people, that you know, friends that play League of Legends. I'm just like, dude, if you took a fraction of the time that you put into League of Legends and apply them to fighting games because you find fighting games cool and fascinating, you'd be surprised at how good and proficient you could actually become. Just a fraction of that time. Like I can teach you as well. I can teach you core fundamental concepts, and you'd be surprised at how far you can get.
I kind of want to jump on that topic
Please.
a little bit. I saw a podcast that talked about an idea that kind of stuck with me. I was like, damn, there is a lot of truth in that. It was like a couple of comedians talking. I can't remember exactly. I listen to a lot of comedy podcasts, but they were talking about like how they made it in the industry as comedians, right? Well known. They're very well known comedians. I think it was either Bad Friends or it might have been Two Bears or it might have been Theo Vaughn. I can't remember, but you know, huge comedian, right? Super popular right now. But they made something. They like made a point about something. And I was like, damn, there's a lot of truth to that. Where it's like, they've known so many people in their industry that were trying comedy that were much more talented than even they were. But they're like, talent can only get you so far. Like, there are people with so much less talent than you probably have in the thing that you're doing, but they were so consistent with it. That's how they made it. Like, consistency will really get you to where you need to go. If you just keep fucking doing it over and over again, eventually if you don't stop, it'll fucking get you somewhere, you know?
Yeah.
Like, if you just keep pushing on and keep pushing, you're eventually gonna fucking get that thing. So it's like, but there's people that they were trying to make a point where like, there's people that are like, he was a fucking great comedian, but he just gave up and it got him nowhere. It's like, yeah, you can be fucking talented, but if you're just expecting like, yeah, I'm talented at this fucking thing, by the end of the third month, I will be famous or I will be the fucking top in the world. It's like, yeah, well, no, that's not how that works. You need to be like, it's going to take a lot of time. Some people it takes longer than others, but the person that will win at the end of the day is the person that sticks with it.
With that said, though, and it's really good that you actually bring that up, is stick-to-itiveness is only part of the equation. You can be a guy like streaming is a great example. I've been thinking a lot about streaming and how to make my stream better. And if you're curious about streaming at home or for yourself, is it's not enough to just hop on the game for 12 hours. You need to not just be stick-to-itive at this thing, but you also need to think on like the quality of your stream as well.
Sure.
Where it's just like, if you're just streaming the game, not talking, not interacting with chat, just being very dismissive of chat, you're not going to get very far. It doesn't matter if you stream 12 hours, but Jinxie is a great example for someone like you. Jinxie, when he first started or something, Ludwig brought this up, had a average viewer count for an entire year of 2. But he was putting in that grind, which is, more to what you're saying. He was putting in the time. It wasn't about just putting in the time.
Right. He wasn't opening any other doors to open that opportunity up for himself until he started like clipping, right?
Absolutely. Clipping is part of the equation, but, you need to be entertaining. Like stream, and once again, I'm stealing this from Ludwig. Stream how you would with 10,000 viewers, 10,000 concurrent viewers, the same way you stream to 0 or 1 viewers. You cannot be waiting on that raid or whatever the case may be to start being entertaining all of a sudden. You need to bring your A game to differentiate yourself.
And just to give us both a little bit of credit on this, I think the one thing that I was worried about when we first started this channel was like, starting out, you're going to start out with literally no one watching.
And a little rocky as well.
A little rocky and no one watching. So you're not only are you trying to fucking find your footing, but you're also trying to be entertaining on top of that too. And the one thing that I really appreciate about what we're doing, the numbers don't fucking matter to me. And it does, but it doesn't. But I think going into every video that we do with the same mindset that I had since we had literally 2 viewers to however many viewers we're getting now, like it doesn't matter to me because I'm still going in with the mindset, like you're just saying, where it's like you're streaming to either 0 followers or 10,000 people. You still are going in with the same mindset. You're still doing the same. Not that you're not improving on what you're doing. What I'm saying is that you're treating it just the same. The entertainment value doesn't go up or down depending on how many people happen to be watching that video that week. I feel like we will be doing the same thing that we're doing, which is a good thing what we're doing, regardless. And I think that's what is building what we're doing now, is because honestly, there's times like, fuck, dude, there's points in this podcast where I legit sometimes feel like I forget that the fucking mics are on, because it doesn't matter. Like, this could literally not be happening right now. Any of this could be, and we'd be having this conversation. And that is the secret to our channel that makes it so fun to watch, even for me to watch sometimes, not to sit there and toot my own horn about why I like my own videos. But I just think that that's the magic of it sometimes, is where it's like, that's the fun of the channel, is that it feels like you just happen to be in the room with us.
And maybe, it's to a point where...
And I don't want that to change, regardless of how big we get, or,
get or don't get, or like,
exactly.
we're going to continue doing the same thing. And like, yeah, what Cody said was, we would really happen to, and we've said this before, it's just like, we'd be getting this conversation anyways. Like, you guys just happen to be in on it. I did derail a little bit from the thing I originally asked you.
Oh shit! Did I derail it? My bad.
I think we're autistic.
Very true. Please go on. Sorry, I'll try to be clear.
No, it's okay. I mean, I really enjoy our conversations.
Yeah, me
and
too.
like, it just happens that they,
can venture off. Yeah, but anyway.
So, doing things that are the wrong decision, but they work, and reevaluating after the fact.
Yeah. Okay, I remember now. You're talking about, like, if you get a win, does it matter how you got it? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, more or less. So, like, let's say and then a stat, like, reevaluating after the fact of, like...
Yeah, I didn't make that point. Yeah, I was just kind of telling you my thoughts on being in competitive gaming.
No,
yeah,
that's okay.
My bad. I forgot to answer the first question.
I want to make this more clear to not just you, but people watching, of, thinking more on more optimal, safer, more effective ways of doing what you did, and refining your gameplay to being sharper and cleaner. Because, like, to you at home, doesn't matter as long as you got the win, or are you going to be constantly reevaluating yourself to take yourself to the next level?
Can I answer? I'm going to answer that question as clear as possible. I apologize for not answering that earlier. Fuck, I know we went on a huge derail because I just now realized I didn't answer that question. So I think, yes, I do. I do that, even like, and I'll give you an example. I don't know if you'd count it as a win, but the best way I can put it is, like, when I put out a song that I'm like, okay, this is going out. Right? I don't look at that song as like, it's done, I succeeded in making that song, now it's out there. Every time I listen to it, and I know this is like a guilt thing on my end, but it's like, okay, like, what I do, or I've at least taught myself to do, is don't just listen to it and like think to yourself like, I want to pull that because I know so much more than I did then on how to improve this. I just look at it as like, okay, like, yeah, I think this is good. Like, I don't mind it. I actually think it's really solid. But the next time I'm going to do this, what was it that made that work?
Yeah.
What was it that made that cover or that song or whatever I did that I recorded work compared to what I did before? And also, what about it do I not like right now that I could fix for the next one? So I take the good and leave the bad. I'm always thinking about that. Even when I'm like golfing or whatever it is, it's like, okay, yeah, I got a fucking dope ass shot. Okay, but what did I do to make that work? Was I just kind of pulling that out of my ass, or did I...
Actually, golfing is a great example.
But do you see what I'm saying? So I do analyze.
Okay.
Even when I do make the win, I'm not just sitting there thinking like, I don't give a fuck, I got the shot. Because what am I learning?
Yeah.
It's like, if I'm just pulling that shit out of my ass, then it's just like, okay, then, it might go my way, it might not. But if I can fucking dial that in and figure it out, then there's the consistency with that. And then I can get consistently good and get consistent wins, if you want to call it that, or consistently good music put out.
Yeah. So, like,
Does that answer that question?
Yes. But I wanted to, like, refine it even more, because it is such a weird question without directly sharing.
Please, yeah.
So it's like accounting for your slice of, like, I hit a wicked slice with my driver. I'm not saying I do. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I hit a wicked slice on my driver, and especially you will at, like, your beginner stages. and you're accounting for your slice on your first drive. So you line up very left on the tee box, and then you slice the fuck out of it. You get on the fairway. It worked out, but you didn't do
The right things.
the right thing to get you to where you wanted to be.
Sure.
And it's like I mean, the whole thing with the original point of Tatsugate was like, you did a YOLO decision. It was the wrong decision. And the dude that was recording is like, who the fuck does that? And it hit him.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh, well, it hit you. So
I kind of want to add on to that. So slicing's a good example. So it's like, okay, is it necessarily a bad thing if you sliced and you adjusted for that and you still made it on the fairway? I think it depends. Now, if you're consistently slicing the exact same way all the time and you're adjusting for it every time and it's working out,
it a fade.
You call it a fade. Exactly. That at that point, you're being consistent with it and succeeding. So it's like, are you doing it the conventional way? No. But if it's working out for you that way, I mean, John Daly is a great example of somebody who does not fit the mold of like your typical golfer, but that guy just knows himself well enough to be like, I fucking know that if I have 2 cigars and 3 beers, I'm going to fucking shoot under 80. If that's what works out for him, he's consistent enough with it that's his way of doing it. So, but if you're so inconsistent where you're like, I'm accounting for the slice, but you're like, oh shit, well, it turns out I didn't need to account for the slice because I just drove it straight into this house. Like, then at that point, then I feel like that's where you need to make adjustments. It all, for me, comes down to consistency. Whether it's the conventional way or not, I don't think that matters. I think what matters is if you can get consistent with any way that you decide to do it. So even if that means that you're going against the way that you're supposed to do it, as long as you're consistent and it's working out for you, then fucking do it however you want. That's how I feel. You may not agree with that, but that's just how I approach it.
So, like, without getting too on the nose of what I'm talking about, because in a way I do have to avoid it, and maybe we can save it for like a more fuller video of just this topic. But it's like you're playing a ranked video game, and let's say League of Legends,
Sure.
And you are gold, and you do gold strats, and do you know what I mean by gold strats? Like random shit, but it just happens to work because you're in gold and you can kind of get away with it, and because it's like off the wall. But the right thing would be to not do gold strats and like analyze what the pros do, because it's more like strategically right and more like contextualize this, like copying the pros because it's the most effective, like the right way to play. But you got the win because you did the cheesy gold strat or whatever. But then you realize, like, if you want to level up your game a little bit more, you need to, like, these gold strats aren't going to work forever, but it's like a fine line. Like, I'm less proposing a question, more so just giving, I guess, context for you and the person listening.
It's more like just like a test of philosophy on the thing. Like you're kind of testing like a viewpoint on it.
Yes.
You're not asking a question, but just bringing up an idea of like,
just like a way to perceive it. Because while I think it's valuable to, I guess I'll just share my perspective. Well, I think it's valuable to analyze the pros. You're not a fucking pro. For those of you in gold, I think it's valuable to draw from what you can. So, like, let's say Tekken is a great example for me. I don't have pro execution in Tekken, not even fucking close. But I can still watch a pro and pull things that I think are fundamentally good and try to incorporate them into my game plan. Am I still going to do the stuff that works at my level? Yeah, absolutely. But I think it's valuable to reflect on what you did wrong and what you did right. And I think it's a bit more cut and dry in something like a fighting game, because you can directly see it's like, okay, I got hit right here. What could I have done to prevent that hit? Could I have done something safer and a little bit more effective? Yeah, absolutely. Critical thinking is something I do very well, actually, especially in the fighting game space. Doing what works at your level is totally fine, but understanding and recognizing when it's time to put those things away and when to bring them back out for the odd occasion is very important.
And I want to add a little bit of so just to kind of bring it back to fighting. So how do you feel if there's, say, like, okay, I'm going to be very naive. I'm trying to make a comparison and equate it to the fighting scene, which I know nothing about.
I appreciate you doing your best.
Start out by saying that before the comment section comes and attacks me and be like, dude, you don't know what the fuck you're clearly. I don't play fucking fighting games, so easy, all right? But just talking to you about it, just to try to like kind of jog your mind on the idea, if we're gonna keep continuing down this thought process, right? If there's, say, this is hypothetical, say there is a way that pros do things when it comes to fighting where it's like, okay, what you ideally want to do when you're around this rank is you want to juggle around multiple combos. You want to have at least like 6 or 7 combos in your arsenal, right? That you can pull out for different situations, right? Once again, hypothetical, that may not be how they do
You're
it.
good.
Okay. All right. Just want to clear that up.
You guys don't matter right now. We're talking. Mommy and daddy are talking,
Yeah.
okay?
All right. So you're following along, right? Yeah. Now, if you got your way up there, which I'm not saying this is the, I'm just going to say it. So if you got your way up there and you didn't do that, right? Say you only had like 2 combos that you got really down and you got them consistent, which would be the equivalent, if you wanted to say, with golfing, where it's like, I'm accounting for the slice, right? Like, it may not be the right way to do it. Like, you should have 7 combos, but if you're consistent enough with the 2 combos and it works for you every time that way, even though it's not the conventional way of doing it, do you still count that as a legitimate win? Do you think that's okay for fighters to fight like that unconventionally and still make it into that rank? Or do you think that it's like, okay, no, and when it comes to that, you need to get on the level of these guys to even and just saying hypothetically, if they're still up there toe to toe with those guys with only 2 combos in their arsenal, how do you feel about that? Is it okay for people to be unconventional like that?
I think it's less about where you are at that point and where you're going, or where you're trying to go. If you're happy,
is it frowned upon? I guess is what I'm saying, to be unconventional in anything. I'm trying to equate it in fighting, but like just to jog the mind on the philosophy aspect of it. When it comes to being unconventional about how you approach what you're doing, is that okay? Or like, do you look down on that? Like,
no.
What's your thought process on that?
No, because like I look at someone like not Vitness. What's his fucking name? He fought low tier god, Viscant. Viscant was a legendary Marvel player. I'm good. Viscant was a really, really good Marvel player. He was also on the scene in Street Fighter 4. I'm sure he's still probably playing fighting games to this day. Yeah. And he had a team. I just remember Virgil was on it. That's all I can think of. It's been a while since I brushed up on my FGC history. But it wasn't about... Kazunoko is also another good example. It wasn't about how good his execution was. In fact, his execution wasn't good. It's just that what he was doing was so effective and he was doing it so well that he got to the level that he was at. People will fucking Yipes, if you guys know who I'm talking about, was shitting on his combos like, oh yeah, I remember that combo in season 1, but he gets wins on the board and he performs well at the highest level. Right. So he's doing it. So there is absolutely room for that.
Yeah. So then do you kind of bag on the guy for shitting on him, or do you shit on the guy that was doing the combo that he was doing forever ago? Like, which one are you like?
I think you just say scoreboard at that point, but just also it was in jest. It was in good fun.
Yeah, do it your way. If it works for you that way, then so be it, kind of thing.
Yeah, but I also think it's dependent on the level that you want to get to.
Okay.
So let's say like for me in Tekken, I'm red rank. And while, because I think to get to and if you can get to the highest level with these 2 combos and it works for you, that's fucking awesome. The guy with the 6 combos and the guy with the 2 combos are hard stuck red rank. Or let's contextualize it a little bit better. Let's say you're hard stuck platinum, because I feel like people have a better understanding of what platinum is. You guys are both hard stuck platinum, guy with 2 combos, guy with 6 combos. And I think if you're content with being in platinum just with your 2 combos, I think that's totally fine. But I think if you want to go above and beyond that, I think that you're going to have to learn those 6 combos at that point to proceed. And I think it's better to learn those 6 combos earlier, because it's going to be a harder lesson for you to learn later. Because like, you know, when I was switching over to hitbox, because I was originally a controller player when I first started, and then I moved to stick, and then I moved to hitbox. But when I was making the switch to hitbox, I was running into frustrations because I was rewriting my hands to learn this muscle memory that I was completely uncomfortable with, and I would lose matches that I edgewise wouldn't lose because I was trying to implement learning this new thing, whether that's a combo or learning a physical peripheral. And I was like, man, I could fucking beat this dude if I was just on controller. And then I would switch to controller for that one game, and then I'd beat his ass. And then what did I accomplish because I switched to controller? I was a bitch. I was a fucking bitch because I didn't stick to my guns, and I just went for the bit of self-satisfaction that I could get by proving myself right that I could beat this dude, but it wasn't in the pursuit of learning anything.
Okay, but what about someone's perspective there where they want to just stick with the controller?
Then that's totally fine.
Right, but you're saying on a personal level, personally, you felt like you were bitching out because you went the easy route for yourself.
Exactly.
But if somebody else wanted to do the controller thing, it's like, that's fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
No problem.
I just wanted to clarify that thought for you, just in case someone misinterpreted that.
No problem with you playing any peripheral. There's people that play on controller at the highest level if that's what you want to play on. But if you're imposing these things upon yourself to improve yourself, once again, you know, if I started learning hitbox at the very beginning of my fighting game journey, this was the whole point, was I wouldn't have run into the struggle of making that switch later. Yeah. If the earlier you try to learn these new combos for the context of our story here, the easier it is going to be to implement them and what they actually mean later.
Can I say something that
Please.
is like very much in line with that way of thinking? So I've been recording a bunch of songs lately. I made like a post talking about this on TikTok not too long ago because, like, you know, a lot of people will see what you put out, but they don't see a lot of the hard work that you do on shit you don't put out. And there's a lot more I don't put out than I do, because I do hold myself to a standard where it's like, would I listen to this on my own time? And if I honestly sit to myself and go, no, then I'm not putting it out. Like, I have to love it, and I'm not going to put out something that's shit just because it's putting something out and it's, you know, more traction. I'm not that type of person. I'm not just going to pump out shit that I don't feel proud of. However, there's been a few covers or whatnot, even original songs that I've been like structuring on an old DAW that I'm very familiar with, right? Not that there's anything wrong with people that use this DAW, right? That's why I wanted to clarify that thought, right? For you. That you know, people can make music on whatever they want to make. However, I feel like I'm learning stuff on a new DAW, and that's a very difficult task for me because I'm taking stuff that I already know that I can do, and I'm having to apply that onto something that I know nothing about. And that can be very frustrating because you want to put this thing out and you want to navigate this thing at the best of your ability and do it as fast as you can at the pace that you know you can do it on this other DAW. Clarifying, DAW is an audio workplace.
Digital audio workstation.
So where you go to record your music and where you go to like do your adjusting on your mixing and all that, right? So there's an old one that I was using that's very bare bones and great for beginners. And I feel like, if you
want to know, it's called Audacity.
It's called Audacity. And I think if you want to do that, totally go do that. I still think it's good for just like what we're doing, like podcasting. You can do basic editing and stuff like that on there, and it works great. But if you want to put yourself on the next level, you're going to need to start sinking money into
or get really fucking creative with that shit.
Yeah. So I'm using one called Ableton, which I'm still learning, which I don't feel like I need to be wasting my time putting so much effort into shit as far as like recording onto that if I know nothing about what I'm doing. If I'm just, you know, I don't want to waste the time being like, dude, that was one of the best vocal performances I've ever given on a mic. And then it goes to waste because I fuck it up because I don't know what I'm doing. So it's like the thing I'm struggling with and why I haven't put out a lot of shit that I've put out is because I'm like, okay, I want to do this idea, right? Like I was doing this idea for like a country song I was showing you. I'm not going to put that out. I've decided against it. Now, the reason why is not because I thought it sounded bad. It's just because I'm like, okay, do I want to, you know, bitch out essentially and just put this version out because I know it'll sound decent enough to where it'll be like it'll sound decent on whatever? Or do I sit on it and be like, but if you just keep going with Ableton and you start to figure that out, you can take that and make it sound even better, Code. Don't be a bitch and go the easy route on Audacity because you know how to do that when you know that you can put more effort in this other thing and do it better on that if you just be patient and keep working at it. I feel like you can honestly equate it with the hitbox where it's like, if I just keep being consistent with this thing, I can get back to that level that I was on the controller, but I'm not going to just go back to that because it's the easy way when I can be better on this. And that's exactly how I'm looking at it with Ableton, where it's like, do I do a lot of test runs on Audacity just to be like, on the performance aspect of it, just to be like, does my voice work with the song, or can I make this work? Just in general. Yeah, I'll do that all the time on Audacity. But I'm at a point now where I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to put out another cover or another song on any of my platforms using that DAW, because I feel like the next thing I need to do in my music journey is on Ableton. I think that's the next step for me.
Well, I think the theme of what I said is very, like, you know, very applicable to like what you're applying it to, but I think there's a very slight difference. Not that it's discrediting what you're saying, or not that you know, we're not relating or on the same page, but mine is execution of physically being able to do something and learning to do that thing. Yours is knowledge based.
Sure.
You don't quite have the knowledge to do what you want to do, and it's going to take some time to get there. So I can understand, you know, just wanting to be able to put out the thing for the interim, which I also get, you know, contrarian, where it's just like, okay, like with what I said, like, stop being a bitch and do the fucking thing.
Right.
It's the same, but it's different.
No,
not by
it
much,
totally is.
but
No, yeah, I get what you're saying though. It is.
I don't think there was an ending to that statement.
No, but I kind of want to bounce on that a little bit too. So I think you're right. I think the knowledge aspect for it, it's like, it's not, there's a little bit of skill to production, because I don't want to discredit producers out there. I mean, some producers are fantastic at what they do. Some producers are not. You definitely have to have an ear for certain things where it's like, okay, well, like, I like my EQ like this, or I like my compressions to be at this level. That doesn't mean that's the way to do it, right? Just like, kind of like, it's unconventional ways of doing shit. However, you are right where it's like a knowledge thing. I just think that when you go to step up to the next level with that, it just comes with a lot more knowledge, and that is a lot. I mean, like, you're pretty much teaching yourself like class on just even the simplest stuff. I mean, a drum beat alone, just knowing how to make the beat, take out every other instrument, just the beats alone is going to take me a lot of time to like actually get comfortable with doing it. This is just doing it. That we're not even talking about getting creative with the shit. I'm talking about being able to get on the fucking thing and be comfortable enough to knowing like, okay, this is exactly where I'm going to find all my kicks. Here's a list of my kicks. This is how I'm going to drag them over. This is how I'm going to map it out. Just getting used to the idea of how to do that is going to take so much time. And that's just the fucking beat alone. So yeah, it's different, but it's just in the case of like, there's just a lot of knowledge, and it can get overwhelming really fast because you know where you want to be, but you have to start out small here. And it's very humbling, and it's very difficult in that aspect, but it is different than what you're saying for sure.
So I get it too, because like and so not that I can't, but time, of course, time is the theme. Editing is I feel somewhat similarly. I'm not pushing my editing capabilities to their furthest. Like, the closest I get to that is like crotch block videos, because I edit the shit out of those videos. But even then, like, there's so many higher heights I can reach with my own editing and making a more solid and quality product, and taking like the fullest reaches of Premiere Pro, which is the program I use to edit. And I can push that program further. With that, I think you need to pull something a little bit from me, actually. And it's I refer to myself as a chipper, and just a little bit a day is gonna put you very far. Like, it adds up, you know. And just being and I know being consistent is hard. But yeah, being consistent and just like for you and for those of you at home, like it's very easy to get lost in the sauce of like, okay, here's where I am, here's where I want to be. But the best thing you can do for yourself to not, lose incentive is just to set small goals along your way of, this is my goal for this session. It needs to be realistic. Continuously having those little goals to get you to your big thing. It's like I related a lot to getting paid of, treating yourself when you get paid so you don't forget what you're working for. And then because if you do, if you're just all your money is going to bills and like these big things and your savings and like you don't treat yourself, you'll get fucking depressed. And you just like you forget what you're working for along the way because you don't have those moments of reprieve. So those little goals is going to be those moments of reprieve where you can pat yourself on the back.
Yeah, just being a little strict with yourself in general with like
Strict, but reward yourself.
well, yeah, but that's kind of what I mean, where it's like be strict enough to where it's like, okay, just do a little bit of it here, do a little bit of it there, but just be consistent with that and just being strict on that end of it. Like, not that there shouldn't be any reward, I agree, but just being like, because I do mess around with it, and I have messed around with it plenty. But the consistency is inconsistent. And a lot of that is due to my own personal problems. And it's also due to my own personal life. Life can get in the way sometimes. Like I talked about it earlier on this podcast. Shit just happens and it just stops you from doing that. And then you kind of get busy with other things. And then you go, fuck, it's actually been fucking 2 weeks since I did that last. And then before you know it, it's, the time slips away. But yeah, I try to be as consistent with that as I possibly can. I'm even trying to like venture out and do, things I'm not really comfortable doing, just to like do something new, which is like this editing software for TikToks and stuff.
Yeah, we can catch up on that a little bit tomorrow.
Yeah, and I want to do that, and I was looking at that today, and I'm also experimenting around with how I do my TikToks. Like I spend all day fucking doing that. I was literally like just like going, okay, how do I make the audio a little bit better on these and make this sound a little crisper? And is that a better avenue for me to put these out with better quality than what I've been doing?
Well, and just with that, I appreciated the little sentiment that you pitched to me, where it's just like, oh, hey, I want to take a little bit off of you, and I was just like, dude, you don't know how much like
Yeah,
like because I'm not that I'm complaining, but I edit everything that goes on the channel.
Yeah.
And I edit my own stuff and crotch block stuff, and yeah, I'm trying
And I tried to take the workload off of you a while back, but it was just like it was it was just a lot up front, and I was like I'm totally open to doing this, but it's just taking me so long to fucking do. Like it was a video that we ended up scrapping. And it was just because it was like 2 or 3 hours worth of footage that I had to
that was not the most effective
for.
way that we could have done that.
And that's why I was telling him, I was like, I'm totally open to doing this. I was like, just give me like a video at a time, just like kind of how you've been editing that at a time, where it's like, I'll do 15 minutes of this and that's what's going out. I'm like, yeah, just give me the 15 minutes audio of that.
Well, it's and for our videos, it's not as if I like I'm gonna edit this chunk of time to this chunk of time. I just like edit to like let's say 15 minutes at minimum, 25 maybe 30 minutes at maximum, and I just pick a good stopping point in between there, and just however long the video is how long the video you guys are gonna get.
Yeah. And I want to kind of touch up on something too with you as far as like music goes. So how has that been going? Have you been doing anything with music really lately?
I have been on TikTok.
Oh, really?
I post a
little.
I've
seen some of yours. Yeah, I have seen some of them.
Okay. I post a little bit on TikTok for like music stuff. I'll just like go in the bathroom because there's great acoustics in there.
Sure.
And I'll just sing a song I'm either comfortable with or like a song I just started learning. And I'm feeling a little bit more confident in my singing capabilities. I know I'm not great or even like halfway okay, but I've come a long way from being pretty much tone deaf and people telling me to stop singing to having the occasional person say like, oh, hey, that sounded pretty nice. And like for even to hear that wasn't bad is more praise astronomically than what I would have gotten when I like started singing.
Yeah, yeah. Have you been writing any riffs or anything like that lately? I've heard some of your riffs and stuff.
Writing recently, no.
Yeah,
Nothing with a lot of time. Like I'll get
yeah,
like a little progression going, and then that's about the extent of it. But nothing well thought.
yeah.
Lyrically, I feel like I come up with my best stuff with you. Like it really, once again, it's like how we talk to each other. Like he'll just throw out a progression and then like a layer something on top of that, and then I'll just like start making lyrics, and sometimes it'll come out okay, and then sometimes we'll put Rick Astley over a Tool song.
Can I offer you a suggestion
Please.
that I was recently doing a little bit of research on? This is kind of, I think this is on the longer end of our podcast.
It is. We are encroaching 3 hours.
Really?
Yes.
All right, is that cool if I keep
Please.
spitting? Okay.
We're just cooking right now.
So, something I saw that I was like, oh, I used to do this, and I like thinking back on it, I was like, huh, that is kind of how I wrote my songs in the past. I don't know why I thought to stop doing that, but it's like a subconscious verbal kind of garbage thing that you do, well, or that you can do to help come up with melodies and songs. And I started doing it again, and I started coming up with things that were sticking, where it's basically where you just kind of turn off your brain. Say I come up with a riff, right?
Water.
I come up with a riff, and I'll like kind of keep just playing it on loop, just over and over and over again. And then I stop thinking about what I'm saying, and I stop thinking about like the lyrics or like where the song needs to be, and I just start spitting out shit until I feel like something catches my ear, or until I hit stop and listen back, and I go like, oh, you know what? There's something right there. And I just highlight that little bit, and I'm like, okay, let's build off that. And you sound stupid doing it, but it really does work, because that's how you let your brain just kind of run. You just let it run, and it's like the structure will come when it comes to writing, but just letting your brain kind of run off into these different directions and melody, will help you find what you do like. Because if you think too hard on like how you want the melody to sound, then it's going to come out a little less like
Inorganic.
Yeah, and a little less creative too, because you're going to be kind of going off of something that you've heard before. So I started doing that today, and I was like, oh, that melody actually sounded super unique for me. Like I don't normally write my melodies in that timing, or hit these kind of notes, or like, so I just kind of would like play this riff, and I just kind of just go all over the place on melody. Like sometimes it's not even in key. But even if it's not in key, I'm like, okay, but the cadence of that works. I'm like, now let's just find the key. Like, let's just put the right notes on that. I'm like, okay, or you'll hear something like if I'm hitting record when I do this. So I'll just be recording myself riffing and just going all over the place, and say I'll find a cadence to it, right? And it's not on key, but I might like a melody further along in that bullshit that I'm spewing, and I just put the two together, and all of a sudden now that part's really working. And then I just build off that. I'm like, okay, so now let's do the verbal garbage thing again, but let's keep that part. So like if, I'm starting a chorus off, I like the way this chorus is starting. Now let's just venture off from that. And then you pick out something from there, and then you're like, oh shit. And then you put that after that. And then before you know it, you've built yourself a pretty solid chorus, because you're like, holy shit, like I just took literally 4 or 5 bits of verbal bullshit and put, it together in a structured way. And now I can, because you have a cadence to it, like a dun 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 dun, right? I can write the words that'll fit that. You get what I mean? Like you just put the words and you just place them in there.
We can definitely do that. I can give that a try, or maybe even you can walk me through that a little bit.
Yeah. It's been working for me lately. I know not everyone writes that way. I don't want to say like that's the way to do things. I'm just saying that it was something that I watched a producer talk about, and I wanted to try it again because I used to do that, and it really works for me. So I just figured maybe you could try that. It might not work for you. Fuck it. I don't know.
The closest thing that I do to that, I feel like, is sometimes you boys, we hop in the car.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we throw on a little beat.
Yeah, that's a perfect example though. That's literally the same thing.
We literally just start freestyling, guys. Like, there was one time where we were stuck in traffic for 8 hours.
Dude, oh my God.
And for 3 of those hours, you boys were, he was fighting sleep for sure, but we were just big
Yeah.
freestyling, and actually we were coming up with some bars. It was actually pretty funny, and honestly just a good time, despite being stuck in traffic for fucking 8 hours. But that's something I like to do. As far as like the grand scope of music is, I want to put more stuff out there, but I'm just kind of like being hyper casual with the stuff that I'm putting out there. Like I'm not putting a lot of work into it. Like I'll just grab the acoustic and just like the biggest thing I've been focusing on is maintaining pitch and key and control. Because there's my singing is like Swiss cheese. Like there's some solidity to it. That, like sometimes it sounds pretty good, but basic transitions of voices is like a little bit rocky, and something I'm working on, or like sustaining a note, or
I struggle with all those things too, though.
But yeah, I mean it's just
The only reason I bring that up is just because you talked to me a little bit earlier about being more open to the idea of doing, like, I don't know if you were serious about this, but like
I am.
of like doing a song together, like legitimately.
I think that's been coming with the confidence, and I gotta say, people on TikTok are really nice.
People on TikTok are very nice, yeah.
At least from our experiences, and I mean, definitely follow this guy on TikTok. I don't necessarily think we're wrapping up the video, but this guy's definitely more proficient than I am musically, and he puts a lot of hard work, and I just like to pay my respects for.
Thanks, dude.
When I see people put in that work.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And I same goes to you with all the shit that you do, and especially when it comes to editing our videos and stuff. All the shit that you see, all the cool fucking funny edits that are on this channel. I mean, this guy does all that shit, and he masterfully does it on our channel. So it's a big shout out to you for doing that too. But the reason why I bring that up and I wanted to suggest that to you is to get you more confident in, not that I'm saying you have to, right? Like I do what you want, but if you really want to be serious about like doing songs with me,
yeah,
and like writing and like getting like kind of into that formula with me, I do think you have the potential to do it and to have some really decent songs that fit your voice really well. So I just think getting you a little bit more confident, not that anybody's ever confident when they're writing songs, they're not. It actually comes from a place of, not having any confidence. I've talked to you extensively about this. It's not about, you're humble when you're writing, you're confident when you're on stage.
Sure.
So that's the thing I think people sometimes forget when they're writing songs. It's like, yeah, you're going to look like a fucking doofus when you're writing a song. Like, and I just think getting you confident and being okay with that, when it comes to writing and stuff like that, and being okay with like stretching your wings on your voice and like how you play and like your timing and stuff like that. Cause I not to say that I sound good. I feel like sometimes I sound like fucking shit, dude. And I really don't like how I sound sometimes, and I'll stop playing. But the reason I feel like I at least feel confident in trying, even if I know my voice isn't top notch, at least trying that day, is because I understand the humility that comes from that comes from experimenting with what you do and experimenting with where your voice can and cannot go, and where in genres that you can and cannot do, or what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And sometimes it's going to sound good and sometimes it's going to sound like shit. And there's a confidence that you have to have in knowing that you're going to fail sometimes, and sometimes going like, this thing's not working. And I just thought maybe throwing out a suggestion when it comes to trying new songs or melodies out or whatever like that, would make you feel a little bit more confident in getting behind the mic and recording with me. Because I've offered that to you before. I've been like, hey dude, like I was thinking about doing a cover of this song. I think your voice would fit really well on this part. Would you want to do a cover with me? And you've been like, kind of like, yeah, I'm cool with it, but like not like before. I'm saying, you were just kind of like whatever about it. Like, I don't know if I'd really want to do that. Like I just, and I've been like, dude, I feel like you'd actually be a lot more decent at it than you think. And I still feel like I am being genuine when I say that. I wouldn't just offer that to anybody. Like, I feel like if someone really didn't have at least a little bit of a talent or a passion for it, I wouldn't offer that to anybody to just jump on a song with me, especially with how, I can get pretty strict with my own shit. But you being more open to that idea, I'm like, all right, I'll throw some ideas out his way that he can try and see if that helps. And you know what? You can say, fuck you, Cody, I'm not doing any of that shit. And that's totally cool too. I mean, if you're not cool with that, like
I am super open as far as my my learning capacity is concerned. But you also have to bear with me because I'm a self-regarded slow learner. I might not actually be a slow learner, but I feel like I am. And also, but I'm also very persistent. I'm a driller, as well as a chipper. So you know, golf is a great example. When I was struggling with my slice on with my driver, first thing I did was I hit the range and I hit like 300 balls just with my
Yeah.
driver. And my
Yeah.
hand, he saw, my hand was literally bleeding.
Yeah. I think I'm kind of in the same boat with you too, though, where it's like I'm more of a driller than I am a chipper too. I'd rather just bang out this thing and fucking work my ass off on it like fucking 8 hours straight. And it's hard for me to like look at it as like a chipping thing. I need to get better about like just doing a little bit of time here, a little bit of time there, you know. I think I do it well with music because not only is it like
Well, part of it's your proficiency.
well, yeah, but I feel like I look at it like it's more about the expression than it is about putting in the time. I think I need to start looking at all the other shit that I do in the same way, where it's like I need to stop looking at it like it's a chore to get better and start looking at it like I'm doing it for the fun of it. I think because I kind of blinked and before I knew it, I was like, hey, I'm actually kind of decent at this guitar. Like that's kind of what happened when I started learning guitar. It wasn't because I was like, I need to keep doing a little bit of it every day to get better. It was like I liked the songs that I was learning and I kept doing them every day because it was my way of expressing myself. And so before I knew it, I'm like, dude, I could fucking play the shit out of this song now. And it's like, but it's not like I was going into it thinking that, you know, like I need to get better. I think I need to apply that to my other shit.
I mean, part of it's too is like when I first started learning how to play guitar, and I feel like this goes for a lot of people and likely yourself in this situation, like you're just so violently in love with that thing that you like can't keep yourself away from it.
Yeah.
And like I feel like I haven't felt that way in a while, but it's just like a happenstance.
Yeah.
Because like you can't help but to keep like not be able to keep yourself away from that thing that you inadvertently like fuck, I played for like 4 hours today, and then it's the
Right.
same thing the next day, and then yeah, you add like just the bit of like learning here and there, but you know it's the consistency, the proficiency, and the like relentlessness.
Mhm.
You are like relentlessly in love with that thing. That's the passion is super driving, and that's why like you know this is a bit of a weird veer, but when people are learning like a character in fighting games, it's always like like I'm gonna learn the Ryu of this game.
Yeah.
And it's just like, is that who you really want to learn?
Right.
And
Right.
it's just like, oh, if that's the case, great. Like, let's say you wanted to learn Ryu. I'm just like, oh yeah, absolutely.
Right.
You like the character, you're vibing with the character, you enjoy how he plays, but you don't want to learn Ryu to learn Zangief. And a lot of people get hung up on that line of thinking where it's just like, oh, I need to learn how to play fundamental and solid, so I'm going to pick Ryu. It's like, oh, but you don't want to play Ryu, do you? And then you're wondering why 3 months from now you're not motivated to play the game all of a sudden.
Right. Because you're kind of forcing yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think it's just that relentless love in pursuit of the thing that you really want to do, and you shouldn't put barriers in the way of the things that you love. And that's an episode.
Yeah, dude. I was just about to say, fuck, dude. It's almost fucking midnight.
Holy shit.
We've been going for a minute. Holy shit. This might be, I think that might be the best podcast we've done, dude.
Right. Talk for 40 more seconds because we'll be right on 3 hours. How's your day?
How's your shit been? Have you been shitting good?
No, I've been eating a lot of granola and a lot of protein. I need to inject some more fiber into my diet.
Yeah, I feel that, dude.
And well, no, this has actually been a lovely episode.
Dude, yeah, holy shit. We
Honestly,
might need to start doing them out here like this. I mean,
this was a fucking vibe.
this was a vibe,
I
dude.
enjoyed
Holy shit.
every
We talked
second.
about everything literally under the sun.
Talking to the moon.
That was fucking dope, dude. That was fucking dope.
I had a really good time. I hope you guys enjoyed this.
I do
This was a
too.
lot of fun for us. Be sure to check out the rest of the channel, not just the history of what we made, because I think that's valuable for you guys to watch, even if it's older stuff. I think a lot of the older stuff we made is still pretty good, and look forward to the new stuff that we have coming to you guys. We're going to be
Absolutely.
doing some recording with our friend David tomorrow.
Yes.
Very excited for that. I'm going to hopefully remember to link him in the description of this video. And be sure to check out this guy at CodeMeisterP or CodeMeister_P, depending on where you're looking. He does a lot of amazing musical content. He's very passionate about it, and I think that just really shines through on a lot of his stuff. So please support the boy.
Thank you. Also, check out this guy, XG_Sin or G_Sin, if you want to go see any of the fighting stuff that we talked about today on this podcast. Also, he mentioned on this podcast too, which I kind of threw in a side note about it, Crouch Block. You guys should go check that out, because that, I feel like, is where he talks about like a lot of the things that he's passionate about when it comes to video games and movies and whatnot. And not that he's not passionate on his main channel. He is.
I'm not.
He is. But it's just a different kind of passion. It's more about what he's doing with the games that he's playing, and Crouch Block's more about his thoughts on like what we're doing right now. So if you like that, definitely go check out that channel, give some support to the boy, and yeah, if you like what you like here too, check out more on this channel.
And we are very much encroaching 100 subscribers. We really appreciate
holy
it.
shit.
And with that 100 subscriber mark is going to mark a 24-hour stream that we're going to be doing. And
I'm going to die.
so there's also a link to our Twitch in the description if you want to give that a follow, so you can get notified when we do go live.
Do you, just a quick note, just to kind of like talk about it now since we're here. Do you want to also try to stream that on YouTube on our channel?
You have to pay for dual streaming.
You have to pay?
Yeah.
So it'd be one or the other?
Yeah, unless we feel like paying for Streamlabs Premium or whatever it is, the multi-stream.
Would you rather just stream on Twitch? Or would you rather stream on YouTube? Want to talk about it off camera?
If you guys have a preference, you could leave it in the comments.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll figure that out, but we'll
yeah,
definitely let you know.
If it is the case for Twitch, the link to our Twitch is in the description, so if you want to give that a follow. Also, if you guys didn't know, I probably should have put this at the beginning of the video, our podcasts are available on Spotify. I've been
Yeah.
throwing those up,
Mhm.
and you guys can listen to them whenever you feel like. If you don't have YouTube Premium, I personally do, so that's how I listen to all my stuff. But yeah, that is there. It's a little bit weird to navigate for me uploading it, but it will be on there. And I hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.
It's useless. I try to know of it.